As the leader of the Booner Path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. It is Tuesday, November 12th. And we got a lot to get to today. Now, we're going to have our good friend Jeff Geech join the show as well, 9 o'clock. It'll be a good time. Get Geech. He's at the game in Houston. So
He went to Houston?
He did go to Houston. He had a delayed flight. He was supposed to join us yesterday. He got a little busy. He's doing the recap. He's working on the recap, so he's got some things in the works. But he's joining tonight. Fellas, before we get to the lines real quick, I just want to quick mention, Pistons were up by 20-something. They just
And it's a tie game now, I think.
Tie game now. You know, no Jimmy Butler. I don't know if I should have mentioned that, but.
Yeah, that doesn't help your case, Jeff.
Yeah, it's showing a lot of grit. That's what they're doing. Showing a lot of grit.
Oh, all right.
Playing grit.
They were playing
great defense.
They have looked better.
Mm-hmm. In-season tournament, watch out. Watch out.
Imagine if the Pistons did win it. You know what?
Boom.
Oh, no.
Just jinxed it.
No.
I'm in.
Historic.
I don't know. This hat looks a little crooked to me, but I don't know if I could pull it off. I haven't worn a hat on the show in a little while. How do I look?
Hey, you look great.
All right, Boom.
You look. It looks.
Hey, why not rock the Pistons tonight, huh?
Playing the Heat without Jimmy Butler, and they're
telling me.
Hey, hope for the best.
I don't hate it at all. Hey,
like you said on the stream, Boone, positive vibes.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be that guy, and I will be that guy. But hey, Pistons fans have been begging me to bring the Booner Path to the Detroit Pistons. They've been asking me, and I'm not saying this is officially me bringing the Booner Path, but guess what? You have some support here. I'm just on the. It's like I'm growing up. Pistons were my first team in Detroit that I grew up loving. Like, I remember sitting as a little kid in the living room watching the 03-04 Pistons go win a championship, just eating my popcorn. I love the Pistons, but as of right now, I'm like, I got a head coaching job at a college, and I'm sitting there. I'm out here looking at recruits right now, and I have this hometown kid called the Detroit Pistons, and I'm just on the sideline, in the AAU, tournament, just watching. Like, I'm keeping my eye on this team here. There's something happening with this basketball team. I love this ball club. Maybe JB is doing something. Not JB Smooth. JB Smooth's always doing something over there. JB Smooth's always doing something. I'm talking about JB Bickerstaff. Maybe he's doing something over there, Jeff Iafrate. I don't know. Maybe this might be a good thing.
If you were evaluating the Detroit Pistons as a singular recruit in this instant, we're using it as a recruit to get on the Booner Path. Boone, where would you give them from 1 to 5 stars? Because it's not always just going to be off what they are now.
Right now, they're a 3-star. And listen, there have been all-stars. There's been NBA champions. There's been a lot of different players that have been 1-stars and have made it. They're 3 stars.
Hey,
3 stars.
Let me tell you this, though. See, the program I run, we develop. I recruit 3-star athletes. We turn them into something. I'm Jim Harbaugh, early Jim Harbaugh. We recruit the gritty 3-star athletes, and we get them ready. All right. So you can watch the Pistons. He's over there. I like that guy. I might. You know what? Let's keep an eye on that guy. Oh wait, who's that? He's talking to a. Is that the head coach from up the street? It's me, and I'm talking to that recruit, and I'm saying, listen, man, I can look you up.
Hey,
come over here. He might have already committed. He might have already committed. I might have already got
modern day Greg Schiano.
Yeah.
Yep. Greg Schiano.
Perfect count.
Another one.
The gritty. Hey, we like the
Dabo Sweeney modern day.
Yeah. And then by the time they leave the NFL, GMs are like, who is this guy? We're drafting him. That's what's going on right now. Hey, it's been hard. They've been throwing a lot of games this year, but they're
learning. They're learning. It's a learning curve.
What are they? 4-7. I was just looking at 4-7. They probably thrown like 3 games.
Listen, at our show at the Timber,
35 games
plus, And he came up to us, Jeff. If I'm you, I'm just leaving that in the back of the bag. Just let's just talk good about the Pistons. We don't need to talk out of this world. But there was a guy that came up to us in the tin roof, and he was like, "Hey, one thing with the Pistons," and they went to the Pistons game. You know what? I'm gonna save it because we're talking Pistons later tonight. I'm gonna give all my Pistons content away in the first 10 minutes of the show. We have a whole segment on it tonight. We have a whole segment tonight on it. I'm gonna wait. I'm waiting.
People didn't think.
Shout out the guy.
Some people didn't think they'd clear 20-25 wins.
No one said that. No one said that.
You have you got to go on Twitter more, my guy. You got to go on Twitter. This was it. Sean Murphy got shit for saying 30, more than 30 games. So I said 35.
Sean did tell me Tobias Harris adds 20 plus wins to this team, which is so that's a minimum of 35 wins.
But regardless, yeah. Hey, no. This is what we're not going to do. We're not going to discredit everything I bring up and say that I was right. We're not going to do that. Hey, there were people out there that said 20-25 games. Oh, this team, I'd be shocked.
I said, like, if people are going out there to say that they hit their win total over, I don't think that's crazy. It was 25.5.
Well, that's you, and I appreciate that.
That's not crazy. Over 25 wins, it's like, there we go, boys. But like when the 35-40 range, and you're like, hey, they're going to make the playoffs. Maybe they do, and if they do, all kudos to you, Jeff Iafrate, Jeff Enrique Iafrate. All kudos to you. I respect it.
He changes it. This is how I know Booner. Trust me.
I will respect it. Be like, you were I will say you were right.
No, it's not about that.
And I would love for them to do it. It's like, guys, we're Pistons. I love the Pistons. I would love for them to do what you. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong.
No, my point isn't that. My point is, and that's why I love you. Whenever we bring up things, you always add to the take, I say. And this is my thing. It's like,
what did I add?
It's like Jared, or I'll just throw an example. Like, this is me just priming. This isn't real. This is an example. Like, Ivy will average 20 points. He'll say, yeah, Jeff, we know you said 20, 25, 27 points. It's like, no, I said 20 points. Like,
I've never done that.
You just did it. You said
not
35
with the Ivy
40
thing.
Wins. I said 35.
You did say 35.
And you flirt with the play.
I go 40 because, listen.
Flirt with the play-in. If they don't make
that's
it.
The playoffs, essentially.
You're doing it again. I mean, you're literally doing it as we speak. You're doing it
fine
again.
Line. Let's talk some Jared Goff. We have a Pistons segment tonight. I can't wait to get this thing rolling.
Gaslighting me.
I would never do that. I don't gaslight anyone, man. I speak the truth. Not a lot of people in this city speak the truth. I am one of them who do it.
Yep. I am as well. I thought, I am as well. So, hey, nice to meet you. All right.
Hey, Jeffrey Enriquez Iafrate, Booner over here. Nice to meet you.
Whenever you say more Spanish and Spanish, it never gets like more correct. Just gets even
Jeffrey Alejandro Iafrate. Good to meet you.
It just gets more and more Spanish. Jared Goff. Hey, Dan Campbell spoke about him, gave him some love. All right, at least some more belief. And he also said another quote that we'll get to in a second that was kind of a bar, but his confidence in Jared Goff has not wavered whatsoever. Even Dan kind of, defended some of the picks there. I saw the quote, and I have the quote here, exact quote. It was on Costa and Jansen. Shout out to them. I love hearing, Dan Campbell meets with them every single week, kind of gives some quotes. Here's one of the quotes. He said, concern level of Jared's 5 interception game. He said, none. I'm not worried at all. I thought he played pretty good. That's just the nature of the game. Full confidence in QB1. But I will say MVP odds dropped to in the thousands. I think it's like plus 4,000 right now.
Which it should be. It should be after that.
So and I'll say this though, if you believe he'll be a finalist, put money on it because it's going to shrink. You know what I mean? That's 4,000 and pretty insane.
He'll work his way up. But I mean, guys, because I heard him talk about it on like national media too. Like Jared Goff, yes, some of those picks were not his fault, but even outside the picks, like there were some bad throws that Jared Goff made. Like I understand that you should be confident in Jared Goff. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, if you're a player, if you're a coach, general manager, if you're in the organization, you should trust Jared Goff. And we're not going to put too much into that performance that he had on Sunday night. But I think it's fair to be critical and say Jared Goff did not play a good game of football. I could see maybe in the second half he looked pretty well, but as the game as a totality, there's a reason why that MVP line drops so much. So he's going to get better. He's going to shake it off, but that performance was bad. Even when he wasn't throwing interceptions, there was a couple balls that were just straight in the dirt, slipping out of his hand, whatever. Made some good throws, but 50% completion percentage, Jared Goff usually struggles when he gets pressure. Every NFL quarterback does. But there was times when Jared Goff, even when he wasn't under pressure, was just missing some throws. Made some throws, but just that was without a doubt, probably over the last 2-3 seasons, the worst performance we've seen out of Goff. So I get that you don't want to pile on him, because you know that the national media already has done that plentiful of times. But I think there should be some accountability. Like, hey, he's got to step it up a little bit. He can't go out there and play like that again, because you don't want to see another performance like that out of Goff.
I will say this, Klotz, I agree and disagree. Like,
Okay,
if you listen to Dan Campbell and Jared Goff, and I know it's their job to, keep things positive and keep each other's mindset. But if you do go watch back, and guys, 5 interceptions no matter what, and I'm sure Goff has said it, like, that's unacceptable. Like, throwing that many interceptions is insane. But like, every quarterback's going to do it in their career, especially if you're a starting quarterback for 10 plus years in the NFL. You're going to have, like, every great has 4 interception games, maybe not 5, but 4. And like, what I took away from today is, like, first of all, the 5 interceptions does not rattle Jared Goff at all. Like, the media pile on, like, whether it's the national media, Detroit media, whoever it is, it does not affect what he's doing in-house and what he's doing the rest of the season. I can guarantee you that after listening to Jared talk today, listening to Dan talk today about it, like, it's not affecting him at all, like, not one bit. And then to hear Dan, and this is where it goes to me a little bit more, and I start to feel a lot better at it, to where it's like, yeah, he can't have a game like that. Obviously, he can't throw 5 interceptions. Guys, Dan Campbell was the first one after the game, and then a day later, after watching the film again multiple times, I'm sure, to go on 97.1 and say, listen, guys, like, Jared threw 5 interceptions. He made every single throw we asked him to make. Like, he said the Sam Laporta interception, he said Jared put it right where we asked him to put it. He said Sam Laporta turned a little too late and turned, and it was in a bad spot because he turned late. And then the JMO one, and you're not making excuses for him, but when you look at it and you're like, hey, how bad of a game was this really for Jared Goff? And Dan explained the JMO one. Like, JMO was not, I'm not going to blame, we're not going to put it on JMO. It's everyone's fault. But hey, Dan said it after the game. JMO should have went up a different way, and he went a different route, and Jared thought he was going a different way. It was a miscommunication. It wasn't like it was a bad read or a bad throw. The Hail Mary, you're talking about the third one, the Hail Mary. It's like they tell Jared, hey, we want you to put the ball up there to go to make an opportunity to try and get a score. And it's like the first 2 ones, tip passes. Like Brad or Dan's just like, there's nothing. Jared literally did everything right in that game. It just so happened luck swung the other way, and there were just the other team made plays, or again, Sam Laporta turns a second too late when the ball is right where they ask him to throw it at the exact same time when he is at that landmark. And it's like, when Dan comes out and says it multiple times, I know he has to stick up for his quarterback. And then you go back and watch these, you're like, okay, yeah, this makes a little bit more sense. And then when Jared goes on air this morning and says the same thing as Dan, and Jared himself is like, I feel like I was doing everything right. Like, he was like, I didn't make any wrong reads. I was doing, like, that's where people should take a step back and be like, yeah, it might not look good on an MVP conversation, but when you look at it, like, Jared's like, guys, like, I didn't do anything differently than I did the last 6 weeks when I played at a historic level. Like that, he's like, I literally did the same thing. And he's like, I'm not changing. I threw the balls to the landmarks where I'm supposed to, the timing, everything. It was just, things just did not go our way. And yeah, 5 picks is nuts. It's nuts. But it was just like, nothing was going his way. Nothing was going any of these guys' ways. So like, at first I was a little like, as we're going through it, guys, at Tin Roof, we're probably all sitting there like, this is crazy. But then you let a couple days go by, and then you start listening to how they're approaching it, and you watch the game, and you're like, all right, it makes a little bit more sense now. I'm not trying to stick up for Jared Goff too. I hope people don't take it that way. It's just like, there are some times, like, it's like a Steph Curry. Steph Curry goes 0 for 15 or like 1 for 15 in the game, and he's like, I'm just shooting the ball. Like, I'm doing everything right. I'm not out here turning the ball over 20 times. Like, you see what I'm saying? I don't know I hope that makes sense. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm sticking up for Jared Goff on that end.
I mean, in a way that you are, but I think there's some like credibility to what you're saying, because I'm the biggest guy where stats not tell all the story. You got to read the context. But you're right, Booner. Like, Jared Goff could throw 5 interceptions next week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, Goff will be fine. He'll get out of it. My thing was just like, the play that bothered me the most was that interception to JMO. And it seemed like a couple of like inconsistently, Jared Goff, I know he said he was seeing the field fine, but there was times where, in my opinion, forcing the ball to J-Mo, and if you look on that play, like Jeff mentioned it yesterday on a different one, Amon-Ra wide open in the middle of the field. The interception to J-Mo, if you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, he is wide open with one defender in sight that's 15 yards down the field. So those were the things where it's just when you see Jared Goff, he takes those shots, but more consistently, he's taking what the defense is giving him and those players are making plays. I think he did less of that this week. He'll get back on track, though. But, Boone, you're not far off.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
I mean, even again with that, and Jeff, I apologize. You can go, but it's like even with that, it's like it's easy for us to just look at it and be like, oh, this guy's open on those plays. When it's like that play call all along with Ben Johnson, hey, take the shot, like take it. Like J-Mo's got to make the play, or he's got to knock it down if it's not there. Like take the shot, and it's like it's easy for us to be like, well, we could break it down. And like the reason he was wide open is because that was like his number one option, and Ben's telling him throw the ball. It's like, dude, it's like when I was in basketball in high school. It's like if I had a wide open three and didn't take it, my coach literally would be like, "You're out. Like if you're not going to shoot the ball, you're out." It's like, Jared, if you're not going to, if you're not going to make that pass, Jared, you're out. So like it could have easily been a situation like that. Like, hey, get the ball to J-Mo, like take the deep shot so it opens up something else. So like it's easy for all of us. I trust more so, and I know it's the media mind for Dan and Jared, but I truly like the way they were broken down two separate times, Dan as well after the game. It felt like there was zero worry, and Jared he played like he normally does. It just the ball bounced the wrong way for him multiple times, which is crazy to think. I know it's crazy. It's like a 0.1% chance of happening, and it happened 5 times.
Yeah, actually, there was a quote about the J-Mo pick, and you saw it Goff, and the 5th pick again was more on Goff's target than Goff himself. This is from Dan Campbell. While it looked like Goff badly missed Jamison Williams on a deep ball, J-Mo should have been at a little higher angle. The ball sailed over Williams' head and turned into an easy interception for safety Kalen Bullock. There are just these little circumstances that come into play, said Campbell. For me, I'm not going to tell him everything. I'm not going to tell him anything because I don't feel like this is, oh man, what are you doing? Those weren't ill-advised throws. So whatever.
Sounds like they both didn't really talk about it, and they were like an understanding, and they both went on air and said the exact same thing with every single
I'm sure they talked about something, like just at least, I mean, because they were probably open about it, like on the sideline after the picks. It's like, hey, I saw what you were doing. I saw what you were trying to do. You're good. It's fine. And I think Goff's kind of earned people's respect at this point. I mean, he's not someone that, it's not like it's, I'm trying to think of like yeah, exactly. Or like a second-year player that's throwing these picks, and you're like, oh shit, is he regressing? Like Goff's had a big enough sample size in this league, dude. He could have thrown 8 picks. I mean, if they would have lost, it would have been different, but they won. So, it's doesn't really matter at this point. It really doesn't. The only thing that matters is the MVP award, but who gives a shit? The guy's going to win a Super Bowl.
He's not.
So it's not really going to matter when it's all said and done. I do have this though, and you put this out, Boone, today on Twitter, which I thought, you know what, it is.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's a good perspective. It's a good perspective tweet. So I'll kind of let you break this down, but explain for people, and I'll zoom in here so people can actually see it's a little small, but
it is. Yeah. Hey, look at that. Look at that man right there. I see Easy's in the chat. Hey, Easy. Perfect timing, brother. Perfect timing. Because last year I wasn't not on the defend the Glenn train, but I was questioning some schemes, some different things that was happening within the defensive room and that side of the ball. We finally, guys, and I think y'all can agree with me, and I think in the chat, everyone watching can agree with me. We're finally seeing what AG's about. And you know what's crazy? I was thinking about it today when I put this out. Is we talked about this year going into the season, we're like AG's finally going to have the chess pieces to go out there and make moves, and he's going to be able to have the weapons and the players. Guys, he still has lost like 5 of his defensive line. Like he has lost multiple guys throughout the year with Branch and Anzo, and he has still been able to put everything together, even without. Like we thought he was going to have all the pieces. The man doesn't even have all the pieces, and I was interested to see what this defensive crew kind of was looking like because we had the conversation last week, and I think it was me and you, Klotzy, and I was like, I feel like this defense isn't getting enough credit for what they're actually doing, because it's easy to look at the total yardages, their passing yardages, all of that they're giving up, but then when you look at the full picture of what's going on with this defense right now and what AG is doing, I said it last week, there are 4 things that matter the most to me defensively. Number 1, it's holding your opponent to the least amount of points, the least amount. It's how low, like, points per game allowed. Like, that to me is the number one stat defensively, because that is putting your offense in a position to go win football games. If you're leading the league in that and you're the top 15 or 20 in yards per game, I really could care less. You're out there getting stops and you're not giving points up. That's what truly matters to me. And then 2, third downs. Are you converting third downs? That's a big deal. If you convert third downs or you offensively, if you convert them, but if you're getting those stops on third down, guys, and you're getting your defense off the field and letting your offense go back out there, that is massive. And then the third one is turnovers to me. You guys know how big I am on turnovers in the NFL. If you win the turnover battle, you typically win the game. Sunday was a little exception because everyone was turning the ball over. Everyone. Jared Goff 5, CJ Stroud multiple. Like, everyone was. But then I looked at the rankings, fellas. All right? I said, you know what? Enough with this. I'm tired of people slandering this defense. And I think people finally, from what I said last week, I said, hey, let's give some credit to this defense. Sunday night, finally, they get the credit they deserve. In the NFL, this is ranked among all of the NFL, all 32 teams. They are first in passer rating allowed in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying they give up the highest passer rating. That means they are giving up the lowest passer rating to all quarterbacks. And if other people are like, how do you calculate that? The passer rating, I don't know how you guys feel about this. It is everything involved: completions, attempts, touchdowns, interceptions, yards. They take everything into account. Passer rating. It is overall game for the quarterback. The Detroit Lions right now have the lowest among all teams for quarterbacks up against them, which is huge. Second one, talked about the 3 things on defense. Right now, the Detroit Lions are first in third down conversion percentage on getting stops on third down. By the way, I want to address this. Xavier D, who's slandering? Booner create imaginary narratives. Xavier D, you must not listen to our show. Last week, there were a lot of people saying that the Detroit Lions defense still might be frauds. It's still looking. You're creating your own narratives, buddy.
Well, and there's some Twitter beef too, Boone. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw it. There are people out there. So Xavier, before you need to go do your research before you come in the chat and start talking, and then come back over here. Secondly, though, the first and third down conversion, guys, that's the number one thing. Again, you want to force punts, like you want to get off the field on third down, and that's exactly what they're doing. And they're giving their offense that many more opportunities every single game. The next one, second interceptions. You boys already know. Hey, takeaways, turnovers, third and turnovers as well. They are dominating in turnovers. That is how you win football games in the NFL. You get interceptions. And you know what? It's not even just turnovers. It's making that quarterback over there on the other side of the ball second guess everything he does. Literally everything. Like, am I throwing the ball to Brian Branch? Where's Kirby Joseph? Where's Carlton Davis? All of that. That is what is insane. All right. Second in passing touchdowns allowed. This is the narrative that's going around, Jeff, that we talk about right now on X. Is the passing yards allowed. Now, right now in the NFL, the Lions are probably, I think, outside the top 20 in passing yards allowed. Guys, we could talk about all the yards we want. We could talk about all the yards we want. I'll go out there and have, guys, we've had teams throw for 400, 500 yards on us and win by 30 points. That doesn't matter. What matters is, are you getting off the field and are you allowing points? What are you doing? Are you forcing turnovers? Are they scoring touchdowns on you? Are those yards leading to touchdowns? Guess what the Detroit Lions are so good at, and Aaron Glenn is so good at having his defense do? Any guesses, fellas?
I thought you were about to finish that. Yeah, go
ahead. They don't allow touchdowns. They don't give up touchdowns. They don't give touchdowns up. They don't. When they get in the red zone, guess what? Guess who's there? Kirby, Brian Branch, the best safety duo in the NFL. The best, hands down. So the yards don't matter, because guess what? You can get down there. We're taking the ball back from you. You're not scoring a touchdown on us. They right now are second in the NFL in touchdowns given up. They don't give up touchdowns. They don't. We're not giving up touchdowns. I don't care how many yards we get on us. We're not giving up a touchdown. Next one, in the trenches. What matters? 6th in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. I know we're used to it being top 5. Guys, 6 is still unbelievable. After Hutch went down, you could tell there was a little buffer of them trying to figure out, let's get back on track here. Guess what they did Sunday night? Joe Mixon, 25 carries, 1.8 yards per carry, nothing. The man, I would have ran. I'm a better back than him on Sunday. He got nothing. DJ Reader, Ali McNeil, Josh Pascal.
When you throw you in the backfield, it's like modern day Peyton Hillis. Can't have that. Mike Allscott.
And guys, the most important stat of them all, are you giving points up? Guess what the Lions are doing? 8th in the NFL in points per game allowed. They're top 10. That's a top 10 defense you're looking at right now. Aaron Glenn has been an absolute dog. And guess what we get on Sunday, fellas? Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith is back in the pass rush. We'll get into this conversation after this week, guys. And people here, listen, now my point is to prove this. And I know people are in there just trying to argue with me just to argue with me because people just love to argue when we're literally on the exacts. We agree with each other. Xavier D, we agree with each other. Sit down or I'll block you for 10 minutes. We agree with each other. We're on the same page. We are on the same page here. I'm out here talking to the people that I've seen on Twitter all day for the last 7-10 days. No offense, Klotzy. We got in the argument last week that you said you still want to see more out of them. And I said, no, they're just being overlooked right now. Go look at the stats. So if Xavier, you want to say who's saying that? Klotzy, I love it. Me and Klotzy got in the conversation last week. Now looking at it now, it's like, someone tell me that this isn't a really good defense. They're playing at a great level, an elite level. Outside of the passing yards, you take that one stat away, they're playing at an elite level, and teams don't want to face them. And when you have an offense on the other side like you do, and then this defense, it's impossible to beat this football team. So the defense deserves a lot of credit.
I want to add, well said, Boone. I want to add to kind of what give you background, because I know people, and I see Xavier D, and he was asking, he's like, well, I've only heard good things about the defense. Honestly,
that's fair, Xavier. If you're in the wrong circles, I think.
Yeah, well, and I'll speak for myself. I've heard more, and there's been indifferences this year. You've heard both sides. I've heard, and honestly, we even pulled up a graphic about a couple weeks ago where other contenders ranked in passing yards given up. Now they've proved over time that they can sustain what they've been doing. So I think with less people kind of care. But there was a big thing started. Shout out Lion Syndicate Derek, and by the way, he's been taking some heat because I think he's been putting out content on YouTube. I'm not sure. I haven't checked, but I know on Twitter he's been going on rants about the passing yards. And he's like, this team is 8th, or I have to double check what they are, but almost last in the league in passing yards given up. So Derek was like going on a rant on Twitter. He's like, don't tell me this defense is great, or this is secondary, or whatever it is. He's like, that's what I'm reading, what the stats say. And then people were quote tweeting him. And it was this big argument I saw on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, great. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, it doesn't really matter. But this is my thing on it. Okay. I everything you have right there, Booner, are some of the most important stats, defensive stats in football. You just went through it all. Those are the stats that really do matter the most. And I think even my skepticism, more so, it's been with the pass rush. I think getting Zadarius Smith here will solve some of those issues. And you even saw last week 4 sacks in the second half. Now, would you like him to do that more early on? Absolutely. But they've shown they're capable, like Aleem getting a sack and the way they've been playing. They played against the run specifically, gave me a lot of hope. I'm like, okay, they got it in them. It's just been, for whatever reason, lack of focus or lack of execution. Like, they have it in them. That they can still be one of the best run defenses, no question. So I will even admit this. I've grown more and more confident with this defense. I do believe right now you have a championship defense because they've been able to sustain turnovers so consistently. It is. And honestly, guys, the interceptions didn't come from your 2 best safeties, the 2 best safeties in the NFL. It came from Carlton Davis, a guy who didn't have any picks on the year. So I think seeing on Sunday, the comeback was great, but the defensive performance in the second half, I don't care if Nico Collins was out. They still played very well in the second half. I will echo everything Booner said. I'm more confident that this defense is Super Bowl caliber. I think they have enough. They do, especially how good the offense is. I don't think this defense is it's to the point where we have to be so concerned they're like a liability. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think this defense is a liability. Are they as good as the offense is in the NFL? No, the Lions have the best offense in the NFL, but I think they're capable. I do. We asked for a top 10, top 15 defense. They are that, so I will, I echo everything you said there, Boone.
Yeah. Kudos to you, Boone. I think the thing that definitely kind of psyched me out, one was like the Zadarius Smith trade kind of like hanging in the air for so long. But the part where I really didn't think that would be able to consistently show up was the Trevor Nowatzki's, was the James Houston performance on Sunday, was the Ben Neiman performance, Malcolm Rodriguez, all these role players that didn't have the big names, that weren't the Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, the key guys. I didn't think they'd be able to show up, especially when you look at the offenses that they played. I mean, I know at the beginning of the season they had Hutch, but you just look at, they talk about the yards per game. When we talk about Lions Syndicate getting the flack, I mean, week 1, you got the Rams. I know Puka left early, but you got Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams. Week 2, you got Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Week 3, you have Kyler Murray, James Conner, Marvin Harrison. Week 4, you have Geno Smith, JSN, DK Metcalf, etc. That whole offense is very good. Cowboys, yeah, okay. That's still Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, though. Like, that's going to give up some yards. Then you go to the Vikings. They have Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Sam Darnold was playing well at the time, and Aaron Jones. And you can just keep going down the schedule. Outside of the Tennessee Titans, this team defensively has gone up against a legitimate matchup on the other side of the ball. So when you look at those stats, and it's like, okay, you're top 10 in pretty much everything but yards per game. Don't give a damn. Don't give a damn, especially when you have Jack Fox, the way that he's punting the ball, Jake Bates, the way that he's kicking the ball, and the offense rolling the way that it has outside of the first half on Sunday. So right now, this is where, like, we talk about the teams that are in the top 4, top 5. Like, that's where the Lions pull themselves out of the category as, like, potential contenders and really isolate themselves with the Chiefs. And right now I'm giving the nod above the Chiefs because, like Jeff said, Chiefs defense very good. Offensively, it's kind of like how they were last year. They're finding the rhythm a little bit more with D-Hop coming in. But the Lions are a step ahead of the Chiefs offensively. And I think that's going to be huge when you're in the NFC because really the NFC are built on offenses, not defenses. And defense right now for Detroit's balling out.
Yeah, I just looked. I know passing yards is kind of the thing that, Lions statistically you look at. And yeah, I mean, where are they? I just checked passing yards. They are ranked 28th in the NFL, 244 yards a game. But you look at some of the teams that are around them. I mean, you in the same ballpark, obviously Baltimore is like on an island of their own, Klotzy. We'll say they're 294, last in the league. They're last by like 50 yards, by the way. It's a lot.
And Kyle Hamilton got hurt.
But people – yeah, and now Kyle Hamilton's hurt, but they're a contender. People would call them a contender. You look at, Atlanta, who I like, they're 24th. Arizona, they're 21st. Minnesota's 26th. In Minnesota, by the way, is 26th. They're only 2 spots better than the Lions in passing yards allowed. But you look at points per game, they're right by the Lions as well. I mean, the Lions give up 18 or 19 points a game. They give up 17.4. So would you say the Vikings defense is good? I would, even though they don't have all the talent, but I'd say that's a good defense, like a really good defense. And Brian Flores is coaching those guys to play better than what they have, but still, like, they have the same formula. They're almost dead last in the league in passing yards, but they're top of the league in points per game allowed. And they create turnovers. When they're not allowing touchdowns and they're creating turnovers and they're great against the run, and you guys know this. I mean, we've been watching football a while now. You force teams to be one-dimensional and teams are down by multiple scores, they're going to pass all over you. You know what I mean? Like, guys are going to, like, remember that Stafford game week 1? I mean, they're dropping back, they're playing soft coverage, and he's just hitting guys on these out routes, 10 yards, 10 yards, 10 yards. And by the end of the game, you look at the stat sheet and you're like, wow, Stafford really tore him apart. It's like, not really. I mean, he at the end, he got a lot of those yards, and there's some guys that made plays yards after catch, but it's not like Stafford was just zipping it all around on the Lions. So the thing is, I love about this Lions defense is the turnovers. Yeah, it's all that stuff's great. They don't give up like big plays, and that to me is hard to do. Like, remember last year, they were giving up so many big plays. I mean, NFC Championship games. Dude, NFC Championship game, he's still on the team, all due respect. Kindle Vildor. I mean, a lot of plays on Kindle Vildor, a lot of plays on Cam Sutton. So there's a lot more. As much as you want to nitpick passing yards, cool. There's like a ton of things positive about this.
Isn't there a point though, like, guys? And I know we lost an NFC Championship game, so you're like, how do you kind of go about a different way because you gave up all those points and you not all the points, but like you had the lead and you gave that up because of the passing yards. We have seen it last year through that run. Of the whole season that you gave up so many. Nick Mullins threw for 500 yards on you, and you were finding a way to win the game. At what point is okay? They have proven at this point that they could win like this. They're able to hold the teams under, 20 points per game, and still win football games while giving up that many passing yards. Like, does it really matter? Like, are we acting like the Ravens? And I know, like, outside of the fact that they haven't been able to get the job done, they're still a good football team. And you're never going to be like, no, Lamar doesn't. Like, yeah, like they'll eventually figure it out defensively. They don't have a bad defensive line and bad linebacker like they have it. I don't see it as an effective, and a lot of times too, Jeff, we talk about garbage time all the time, like a lot. We're always bringing that up. Like, think about the Dallas game and all these different games where you're up by 30, and these teams, all they can do is pass the ball. Like, they aren't running the ball at all because they're down. You're playing against teams and you're dominating teams to where they're consistently in 2-possession games where all they have the choice to do is throw the ball. And you're getting up. You're like, that's 100 extra points per game just off garbage time. And it's like, all right, so that's going to scale and affect it a little bit as well. So like you have to take all things into account. Now, if they were giving up the 28th most passing yards a game, and they also were like 15th or 20th in points per game allowed, then we could sit here and be like, okay, you need to move that up because you need to be a top 15 to top 10 defense to be able to go win games. And right now you're outside of that. Why are you outside of that? Because all you're doing is giving up passing yards. Like that's not the conversation though. The conversation is you're a top 10 defense. And the fact that you're giving up those passing yards is still top 10, like you can only get better. Your secondary can only get better from here on out. Your pass rusher, adding Zadarius Smith. Yeah, and like you're adding a pass rusher that's going to put pressure on the quarterback again. Like when not as good as Hutch, but up to where like, hey, you're going to have some sort of pass rush again. It's like it can only get better. Like this is a top 10 defense already. Imagine what they're going to do when they start to figure this thing out. I just don't think people sometimes take it into consideration, especially like I would love, and I might do it tonight or tomorrow, sometime this week. I might go in and look at garbage time passing yards. Like as soon as the Lions go up 2 possessions, how many yards the Lions are giving up after a 2-possession lead. Because that's when it's like, once you get that 2-possession lead, that's when teams are like, we have to start slinging this thing. That we have to get going. Like we're running out of time.
It's probably majority. I mean, they've had how many blowouts this year? Titans, Cowboys.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, speaking of the Titans, like we talk about the yards per game argument. The number 1 team in yards per game allowed is the Tennessee Titans. Their Lions laid 52 on their fucking head. So if you're going off the yards per game, like I just don't see a way. Like those are teams that are going to beat. The Philadelphia Eagles defense is not good. The only 3 legitimate defenses in that top 5, in my opinion, are Houston, Kansas City, and Denver. Like Philly's defense is extremely vulnerable, and so is Tennessee. So the points per or yards per game, I think it takes into some context. But like Booner is saying, I think that's why it's so important. Just with stats in general, the context is always much more important and vital than the number itself.
Are we gonna like take into account like guys? Hey, the Tennessee Titans held Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions to 60-something yards passing. Oh my gosh! Like how did that work out? Yeah, how did that work out for them? Like that
really, is a great point. Actually.
Like it really doesn't matter. What matters at the end of the day is how many points are you giving up. Like, are you stopping them when it matters? On third down, again, I go back to it. Like AG, his third down play calling. Like he's sending blitzes, sending different things, doing different, giving them different looks. On third down, they're the best team in the NFL on third downs. Red zone, they're one of the best teams in the red zone. Like the things that actually matter, people want to ignore because they just want to look at the stats and instantly be like, stats, let's look, what's going on here. And it's like come on, like let's dive into this a little bit more. There's reasons behind everything. Like the Titans had like almost 300 yards on us. That probably affects it a little bit, right? 250 passing yards. Like,
oh yeah,
like the Titans, Mason Rudolph. Who cares? They're just down the whole game.
Mixon 25 for 46. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm excited to do this segment. Studs and duds. Okay. We're going to go through Lions, Texans. You give me a stud. Maybe you give me a dud. You tell me a guy who impressed you, a guy that maybe needs to continue to improve. I have a stud here, and I don't want to. This is I'm not getting into the layups. Okay, this is a guy that I think gets talked about a little bit, but I think for the plays he made late in the game, I'll go stud Jameson Williams. Okay, that is a stud to me. I thought J-Mo coming off of the suspension looked like he hasn't missed a beat. I know Dan mentioned maybe could have went a little deeper on the route, but I thought J-Mo, the clutch plays he made and the play, I mean, he almost had the deep ball. He was double covered early in the game, but it just didn't work out. But still, the catch he made where he was sandwiched and he got up, went back into the game. J-Mo displayed a lot of grit. And I thought coming back, he had, 50 yards, like hit the over, by the way. But Jameson Williams, think deserves a stud for the game he had on Sunday. So that's my first one.
Well, stud. Hey, I like J-Mo. I think the way that he got back into the game wasn't where it was like, oh, you just got to force the ball to Jameson Williams, but he was able to keep this offense in rhythm. I'm going to go to the other side of the ball. Second-year player, your boy, your guy, Hefe, Josh Pascal. I think Josh Pascal had the best game of his career so far. He had 5 total tackles. Well, within that, he had a sack and he had 4 quarterback hurries. And if you watch what him and DJ Reader did against the run, it was like DJ Reader was clogging up the middle. They had to pick one side. And every time they went to Josh Pascal's play, he consistently was setting an edge. And I think when you looked at James Houston having success, a lot of that was because of Josh Pascal from time to time. So Pascal, best game of the year, and I don't think they hold Joe Mixon to the 40, 41, whatever, how many yards he had without Josh Pascal. He's another player where it's just like week in and week out. I know he missed some time, but after coming back from that injury,
getting better.
He's creating a name for himself. I think people are going to start remembering Josh Pascal's name as they watch Detroit Lions, and it was on prime time too. Huge game for Josh Pascal. I hope and I think he will keep it up when Zadarius Smith comes back, because if you're able to put him and Zadarius on the same side from time to time, that's going to be an issue for offenses to go up against.
I've got a stud that no one would think about. I don't think anyone would think about this.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I'm going to the offensive line. I'm getting in the trenches, boys.
Oh, come on, Boone.
I'm not talking about Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell's always a stud. No one needs to talk about that. Penei Sewell, I put out some stuff on our socials today. Penei Sewell's a stud. We already know that. I'm not talking Graham Glasgow. I'm not talking Frank Ragnow. Talking one of the reasons the Lions came back this Sunday night. Goes by the name of Kevin Zeitler. Kevin Zeitler. No one's talking about him because he is next to Penei. So, yeah, it might be a little easier for him. Offensively, he was the third highest. And guys, I know we don't do PFF much, but just
when it fits our narrative, we do.
It fits our narrative. And to be honest, offensive linemen, it's easier to just look, hey, how did they play? Because they'll grade them, pass, block, rush, they'll grade everything. The third highest offensive player graded on PFF this week was Kevin Zeitler. First one was Frank Ragnow. Kevin Zeitler was third. He was above Penei Sewell this week. So Kevin Zeitler, guys, and this comes to you as well, to where this offensive line, it struggled throughout the game. And it was very, very evident at the start of the game. They were struggling. And guess what they did? And shout out Caleb, too. He had put out something today. I don't have the tweet pulled up, but he actually went and looked at the yardages for when they went to the left and the right, and it was a staggering difference. Like, it was like, I don't know if any of you guys have that. I could pull it up here. I'm not going to actually I'm just going to read it off. I'm going to go back to when I saw it here. Right. Okay. Detroit Lions runs to the left 2.1 yards per carry. When the Detroit Lions ran to the right side of the ball on Sunday night, 5.7 yards per carry.
Ooh.
5.7 yards per carry behind Penei Sewell and Kevin Zeitler. Kevin Zeitler is starting to come into his own here on this offensive line. Like, he's a vet. You knew it was going to take him a little bit. Now that you have that right side is locked down, guys. Pass, like everything. If it's rushing, pass, anything, that right side with Kevin Zeitler and Penei Sewell is locked down. Now I want to go to the other side. Now, can I get a dud of mine? Because I have a dud.
Yep.
Okay.
I do have another stud. I don't know I'm sure you guys do. My first dud. Same position group.
Okay.
Take me to the other side of the line. Fan favorite. And I hate to do this. I don't want to do it. We're getting the air horn off a dud. Don't like that. Don't like that. I'm just going to say it quick. Dan Skipper. Didn't have I know he had to fill it in. And it was tough. It was like a tough spot to go in when you're going up against Danielle Hunter for 17-plus snaps. Didn't really. Yeah, it was tough. I saw I might have it here because I was. Danielle Hunter generated 8 pressures across 24 pass rushes on Sunday night. 7 of those 8 pressures were in 16 matchups against Detroit Lions left tackle Dan Skipper.
It's just getting worked.
So when you're asking why was Jared Goff throwing interceptions, why was he pressured so much, and you saw it a couple times coming from that left side, and he got hit, and you probably could have got a rough in the passer. That was tough. That whole left side, like Dan, you could even, I see people in the chat saying Graham Glasgow. That left side was not the best on Sunday night, and I think it was very evident. Skipper wasn't a very brutal spot to go in there and fill in, basically off a short week. But like again, guys, we could say that we're in the NFL. Like, we need a backup, right?
Hey, back off, Skip, huh?
Boone, I think, Jeff, do you want to go next? Because I have mine, and I think
no, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
I know it might seem like it's fitting my narrative, but this player, he's going to bounce back. He's going to have a monster game this week. But if we're being real, and it doesn't always have to be off the fault of him, I think a lot of it was play calling, thought a lot with the injuries up front. David Montgomery. Okay, he's a great player. But last Sunday, his performance was a dud. It was the worst performance of the year when you look at what he did. He averaged 2.7 yards per carry. He had 12 attempts for, I think it was 29 yards. And after contact, he was not able to get a lot going. I think a lot of that was D'Amico Ryan said, between the tackles, at least with David Montgomery, we're not letting it happen because that's how the Lions keep the games going. I think D'Amico Autry and Azeez Al-Shire had an absolute day against David Montgomery. So David Montgomery is going to bounce back. I have full faith in that. But his performance on Sunday night wasn't his best one. Like I said, great player, not all of his fault, but just he couldn't really get anything going. I think that's very important for this team. To Booner's point, thank God for Kevin Zeitler, thank God for Penei Sewell, and thank God for Jahmyr Gibbs in that fourth quarter, because without them, I don't think they walk out of Houston with the W. But it's not all D-Mon's fault, but I thought he was a dud on Sunday.
Yeah,
That's crazy, Klotz.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
No, dude, he had a bad game.
I had D-Mon on my dud list too.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
He had a bad game, and honestly, Klotz, like I think when you hear that, it's like, oh, D-Mon, but based on the point of the segment, again, what would you put that on? The O-line, the play calling. The fact is, it was weird to see D-Mon play. That's why we're going all in this week on the over and a TD because it's hitting this week. But it was just one of those games. D-Mon, he's human. He's going to have a bad game, and Jahmyr was the hot hand, and that's the benefit you get from having a guy like that. So I don't hate that at all. I don't think that's like a terrible thing to say.
No, I had the same. He was my second dud. Was D-Mon.
I will say someone who didn't have the greatest game, and honestly, if you want to use PFF again, his second lowest graded game in terms of pass coverage was Terran Arnold. He did not have his greatest game. He's been in the thing. I want to make sure I make this very clear. He's been getting better every week. Okay. So I don't want to make this sound like he's regressing. He just didn't have a great game. The penalty that you could tell teams are going to try and pick on him. He's only going to get better. But from Sunday, Carlton was the clear MVP of that secondary, at least at corner. Terran Arnold, he got picked on a little bit, but I'm not worried about it. I think he'll get better. He'll get better. Nothing to harp on, but I would say it was not his best game, especially in pass coverage. In the first half, especially. Second half they were better, but first half, man, it was tough on Terran Arnold.
I think this is a good one. Steven in the chat put this. He said stud Jake Bates, dud Ben Johnson. The Ben Johnson conversation we had yesterday, where the play calling for a little bit was weird, and then I had brought up that one possession where you're trying to produce a comeback. And for 3 straight plays, first down, second down, third down, you run the ball back to back to back, and it's a 3 and out. Like, you really don't see that ever, not in the NFL, college football, even high school. It's 3 straight downs, just it's crazy. And it was like, why is Ben doing that? And then Dan came on the show today, on not our show, but 97.1, and he had brought up. They asked him about that, like, hey, what were your thoughts on Ben Johnson's play calling and running the ball? Like, obviously, running the ball, you guys were struggling with it, and he said he loved the fact that Ben Johnson kept staying with the run. Like, he was patient with I think the word he used was patient with the run. And I was mad about it. But, like, as you start to think about it, once you get to the fourth quarter and Jahmyr Gibbs starts to get going, you're like, all right, thank God he was patient with the run a little bit, because he was able to get things going. And that opened everything up.
You remember, I wonder why Dan would say that. It's almost like week 2. He got too impatient and had Goff throw 55 times. You know what I mean? And that, I think that's where Ben has improved massively, is he's adjusted. So I think that's Dan Campbell giving him praise. Like, I'm glad he didn't, we don't need Goff throwing 50, 60 times. That's just not a recipe for success. You know what I mean?
Because it is easy. Like, when you're down like that and you're throwing interceptions, like, I mean, and you're losing that, like, 16, 17 points, whatever it was. You're sitting there and you're like, all right, we have to find a way to get back into it. And that's when you start forcing it. And there was a couple times maybe like where Goff threw a couple bad passes because he forced it. But, like, to go back and be like, I know we're down 2 or 3 possessions, but, like, let's just get this guy going. Let's get Gibbs going. Let's get him or D-Mont going. I kind of respect it. In the moment, I was like, what are you doing, Ben? But once it works and the play action opens up from it, you're like, all right, man, it's a genius.
Hey, you know who's another stud? The Irishman, Pat O'Connor.
Hey, come on.
Pat O'Connor.
Big man 5 out there.
He played well. Hey, we're going to talk about that run defense. Pat Connor was out there. Pat O'Connor was out there. So I keep fucking up his name, but that's the point, right? I mean, Pat O'Connor. I thought he played a really good game. I mean, you saw Pat. He had the sack, obviously, but more than that, his presence was felt from Pat O'Connor. Hey, I didn't know what to expect out of that man. He's got some juice. I will say, I like Pat O'Connor. Good rotational guy. Good rotation.
It seems like the last couple of weeks, like he didn't get home with a sack, but every couple of snaps you see him out there, he's close to the quarterback. He's getting out there. He's making some plays. Can't hate on it. I like the pick there, Hefe. Boom.
Yeah, hold on. I want to look something.
He didn't like the pick. He didn't.
No, I love the pick. I think it's good. No.
Like
Come
Pat
on.
O'Connor.
He's got Romeo Aquara's number. He doesn't like it.
No, I think guys, no, I'm all in on Pat O'Connor. I think that's great. I just think like we're talking defensive line. I think the defensive line, like all studs. I think they did like Zadarius Smith. When Zadarius Smith turned into a coach, put his coaching cap on. I think Zadarius Smith's going to be an NFL coach when he retires. After seeing what he just did on Sunday, being able to go in there and be like, "Hey boys, let's go," and take that crew under his belt. Like Terrell Williams is Zadarius Smith coaching them up. You're not. Good luck to CJ Stroud. And that was what happened in the second half. Why aren't we mentioning this one, fellas? Stud for the first time since 2022.
Shitty pants.
James Houston, the Gatorade pants, man.
The problem.
He had I think he had 3 or 4 total quarterback pressures. I think he only had a handful of snaps. I think it was like 9 pass rushes. I could be wrong with that. We can look that up. But getting 3 or 4 pressures off about 9 pass rushes and getting a sack in there. And guys, I think he could have had another half a sack. They didn't give it to him. They got I can't remember who they gave it to. They gave it to someone else. It might have been Josh Pascal or someone. They completely just gave it to someone else. He was in there for a half a sack for sure. So he should have had a sack and a half. I'm shocked we went this long without saying. You know what? I want to apologize to the man. First, I want to apologize for my co-host and my friends making fun of you doing what you did with your pants because I know it was just Gatorade, James. Yeah. So I apologize for them trying to start narratives that aren't true. And 2, I apologize for not putting you on my studs list until just now. Respect.
Hey, I don't think we're dogging on him. I respect the dedication of the game of like, you know what? I just shit down my leg. Girdle, underwear, pants, it's through. But you're not taking me off the field. I'm going out there, and Titus Howard's getting work. CJ Stroud, do you think James Houston's hand forced that fumble? No. CJ smelled that loaded diaper coming from off the edge. Like, get it away from me.
Left it all out
James
there.
Houston, had a problem. He made it a solution for the Detroit Lions. Come on now. Come on.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah,
hey, good for him though. He deserves that.
Yeah, he deserves. Wait, what does he deserve?
He deserves to have a good game, dude. He took a lot of criticism from me. Like, I mean, this is where I hate when people. It's like, well, you were the one that you didn't give him guys. Like, I hate to say it to you, but if you're one of those people that are like, no, James could do it, he can do it. Like, dude, you're giving everyone in the world a chance. Like, yeah, people deserve chances, but when you're not performing in the NFL, it's tough. And I think he knows that, and he went out there. His opportunity, it arose, and he took advantage of it. So I credit him for doing that. Give him all the credit in the world.
So, I just saw this too because I wanted to confirm it. Did not even know this was a thing. Let me see if I can find it. Where was it?
What is it? What are we looking?
Stink used to piss himself before every game in Denver.
That is true.
That's why he's Stink, because he used to piss himself. That is literally why he's called Stink. Every game.
That's so gross.
I don't think that's even something you're like, yeah, it's badass. Like that's hell.
It's just like, dude, like you're crazy.
Yeah, imagine a guy trying to, offensive lineman just pissed himself, and he's just
hands in the face call.
Hey, you have to get whatever advantage you can, competitive advantage.
That's it. Yeah, I mean that's it. All right, we got Chef Geech.
Hold on,
about 5 minutes, so stick around.
Oh my, okay, yeah. Mark Schlereth, I think he did because I remember. Can you guys still hear me, by the way? I just froze.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Yeah, Mark Schlereth. So he did a podcast with Part of My Take, and I think they did the Piss Dogs, and they did an interview with him, like a podcast with him, and they just all pissed their pants. And right, they put dip in and just started. They're like, let's go, and they started the interview off. I think with that. That's kind of elite. That's like, all right, you're guys being guys. Let's get this thing rolling, boys.
Yeah, that's guys being guys right there.
I'll tell you what, if he comes on our podcast when we make our trip later in the year that we're not releasing yet, we're doing that. Boys are doing that. Bring extra clothes. We're all doing it. If you guys think all of us aren't,
smile on his face.
If you guys don't think we're all doing that, if we interview him, you're wrong. Because hey, here we go, boys. Welcome to the world.
Yeah.
This dude's being dudes watching football, eh?
Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. Hey, by the way,
that's so wild.
Going into a quick update, going to the fourth quarter, Pistons lead by 9.
By the way, too, hopefully Tim Hardaway is okay. I don't know if you guys saw what happened. Hit his head. He hit his head like hard bad, and had to get he had to go off on a wheelchair. He was on the ground for like 15 minutes, and he tried to get up, and they're like, "You got to get back." Yeah, you got to get back down. And like the team was around him, and they put him in a wheelchair. They put like a bunch of towels over his head and wheeled him off. I may or may not have had a bet on him, so when I saw that, I was like, "You got this, Tim." No! But then when it has to do with someone's life and serious injuries, I'll take a step back and I'll take the loss. I understand. Not good though.
Yeah, I think every leg's gonna hit, but 2 Hardaway threes, and he has 1. So
just how it happens, dude.
But hey,
hopefully he's okay. Yes, hopefully he's okay. It was like the Josh Pascal thing. We were like, why is he injured again? He had a serious medical thing. It's when that comes out, it's okay.
Take care of your business.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Take care of your business. Yeah, I did not see that. I just checked they're up right now. So that's positive. Hey, you know what? Let's get a win tonight, huh?
I have that Cade bet too. Over 37.5 points, rebounds, assists. Need 11.
He's coming
total.
along.
Yeah, need 11 total in the fourth.
Ooh, I think he can do it.
Couple threes.
Pouncer says Bates was cut by Houston and kicked them I saw that. It would outkick them for a win. I saw someone put earlier that after this season, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn will be gone. You have to find new DC and OC.
100%.
You guys, you think 100%? I could see maybe
yes.
I could very well see a situation where Aaron Glenn, like he wants to stay in Detroit at least a little bit longer. Like I think when you look on the outside looking in, but I mean, if you're Aaron Glenn, if you're Ben Johnson, if there's not a dream job that appears, like I'm sorry, like if I'm Aaron Glenn, I know that he played for the Saints. I do not want to go to the
you're missing a big part of it. Defensive coaches don't get many opportunities to become head coaches. And it's only offensive. So like if anyone was to stay off of opportunity and be like, I can pick and choose, that's Ben Johnson. And it's just because he's an offensive coach. Like AG's a defensive guy. Jeff says it all the time. As a defense, like a lot of NFL teams right now don't want defensive coaches, and these people are still doing it, but you see the downfall of it. So for AG, if I'm AG, man, like if I have an opportunity as a defensive head coach to go do it, like you have to go take it. And I think I was the first one to bring up AG to the Saints before Dennis Allen got fired. So we're in early on that one, boys. Don't worry. But I think Ben Johnson, like if anyone was to say, it would be Ben, because Ben offensively will be able to pick and choose wherever he wants.
I think Aaron Glenn goes. I think it just makes too much sense. I mean, the Saints fired their head coach. They want a culture guy. He's a culture guy. You know what I mean? Like that, it makes a lot of sense. Maybe they go offensive head coach. I think they're going to want someone who understands the team. And Aaron Glenn was just there with a lot of their veteran players like Cam Jordan, guys that have been around there. I think they would bring in AG. Ben Johnson's the interesting one. I think he's a little more picky. I think Aaron Glenn has a lot of personal, like he would like to go back to the Saints. I think Ben Johnson doesn't really have any ties anywhere. He's like, fuck it. If a good job opens up, I'll leave. If not, who cares? Like
40 Phenom said Ben to the Bears, Ben to the Bears. Okay, I thought he said AG to the Bears. I was like, there's no way that the Bears go if that opens up. No way they go defensive coach with Caleb Williams. No way. I think AG will have multiple opportunities to go to different places, but I think ultimately he does choose New Orleans.
I don't know. I think it's likely, but I don't think it's 100%. I don't. I think like even last year, like we maybe not Aaron Glenn, but we all thought Ben Johnson 100% gone. And I think if you win a Super, like you've seen where guys, and Aaron Glenn wants to be a head coach. I'm not denying that, but sometimes if a guy like guys are winning and it's not a perfect situation, like even if Aaron Glenn doesn't get his dream job this year, Aaron Glenn was getting job opportunities last year. I think Aaron Glenn has built a reputation now that he's not the head coach that Ben Johnson will be offensive minded though. But there's always going to be at least 2 or 3 teams in the NFL that would try to hire Aaron Glenn because he's better than what they have right now. Like even like Jacksonville, like it's not what it's not ideal.
I disagree with you on all
I just
that.
don't think it's 100% a thing. Likely, but I don't think it's 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I just disagree. Like I think last year, like do you remember the thing? What was the team that came to interview Aaron Glenn? And it was a big kind of thing that was going on because they were like the only reason you interviewed Aaron Glenn was to get to Ben Johnson, or you remember what happened was Ben said that he's turning down the Washington job and they were supposed to interview AG as well. And when they announced that, I think it was Washington, and then they were like, "Oh, we don't want to interview AG anymore." And I don't think it has anything to do. I think it's just with AG. I think just like a defensive minded head coach. And I think once AG gets that opportunity, like he interviewed from some last year. I mean, I don't have inside sources. I just don't know if he was offered any of those jobs. I think he should have been. I think Ben Johnson was offered a handful of jobs. But I think as soon as AG gets offered that position, and I think he's like, hey, you have to, as a defensive-minded head coach in the NFL, Jeff, I feel like you were like, should be like locked in with that. Like as a defensive head coach in the NFL, as soon as you get offered a position, whether it's a good spot or bad spot, you have to take it. Like head coaching positions just don't get handed out to defensive-minded coaches that much anymore, especially with the way the league is right now.
So here, this is where narratives collide. I run into this issue a lot here. Like where two like narratives kind of run into each other. Like I'll give you an example, guys. This is the position I'm in. I love AG. I wouldn't hire defensive head coaches. So I agree.
I want to go offensive too.
I'm in this pickle, if you will, because and I will say this is AG's route to success. D'Amico Ryans, you have to nail your OC. But here's the thing with D'Amico, and this is the problem with a lot of defensive head coaches. What happens when Bobby Slowick gets a job? You got to nail it again, and then nail it again, and then nail it again, and continue to nail your OC job. Because if you don't, not saying they're the same, but you'll end up like, you could either be Dan Quinn with Cliff Kingsbury, or you can be Matt Eberflus with Trane Waldron. You know what I mean? Like, and now so it's important. I think AG has leadership qualities. He reminds me, he has that like D'Amico commander room type of vibe to him. Like I think D'Amico's had a lot of success. So I think he'll be a good coach.
I think what you just said proves to what I'm saying is you're like, are the normal in the NFL right now to where you're like, you want the offensive minded head coaches with that type of like the Ben Johnson type, those type of offensive minded guys that have came out of that Sean McVay tree type deal. Like that is what is hitting in the NFL right now. Those crazy play callings. But that's the same thing where it's like if you're a defensive coordinator in the NFL, you know that offensively that is what is hot in the NFL right now. So if you get offered a head coaching job, you're like, boom, I'm taking it and I'm going to go take advantage of it. Just like D'Amico did in Houston with that defensive mind. He was like, yeah, we have CJ Stroud and we have a great offense. I'm coming in with the defensive mentality. I'll hire an OC to come in and run this offense.
Well, let's bring in our guest, man. Chef Geech.
Let's go.
Man behind the man's actually working currently. I don't know if I haven't checked my phone. I don't know when it's coming out. We'll probably get we can hear it right from him directly. But the next breakdown of the week here. I mean, he's probably got some heat for this Lions-Texans game. Like that shit was ridiculous. And he was in person watching the game, by the way, in Houston. Had a delayed flight. He's here today. Please welcome to the show, Chef Geech. Chef, what's going on, my guy?
Fellas, what's going on? How y'all doing?
Hey, we're doing good, Jeff. Hey, we're doing good. Hey, huge game on Sunday. You were out there. You got to see some of that shit go down. I will say, and I don't know how it was being there, but I saw on the broadcast, these Texans fans were feeling themselves. All right, I saw on the broad, a lot of these Texans fans, you saw them making faces at the camera. The players are dancing, on the sideline, dancing on the ground. They're feeling themselves. Hey, we're about to beat the Lions. They beat their ass. Best team in the league. It didn't happen in the second half.
It didn't happen. I was surprised, honestly. that the Texas fans talk so much shit. I didn't expect that. I thought that they were like, I thought they were like humble. Honestly, I thought that they were like cool, calm, and collective. But no, they came out talking hella shit, and they paid for it. They paid for it. They paid for it. They paid for it, man. It was like I was worried. I for sure was worried. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to y'all, but man, I was telling them, sit down, don't leave. You was talking all that shit. Take this ass whooping like a man. Sit down. Stay for the rest of it. Because after they missed that field goal, they was heading up the stairs.
Yeah.
They was
They
gone. As soon as the field goal was missed, they started walking up the stairs. They
Hey,
knew.
hey, Geech, in the building, the whole Jared Goff, the 5 interceptions thing. Were you worried that, or were you just like, hey, I'm confident in Jared Goff. I don't care about the 5. And like Lions fans in there, were they looking around like, hey, what's going on with Jared? Or was it just like, no, he's gonna figure this thing out?
Was the Hail Mary the third one or the fourth one?
That was
Hail
the
Mary
third.
was
Third
yeah.
one. Yep.
So okay, after the Hail Mary, we still was cool. But when we caught the pick and threw it right back,
Mhm.
that's when the panic started to happen. Like we was good even at halftime. We was like, man, it's a lot of football left. We the best team in the league. No worries. Then CD caught the pick and we like, see? And then he threw it right back and we was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
when it started to get like, come on now, man. 4, you didn't did 4 the whole season. So like, what? How many is it going to be? And then when it was 5, it was like, I just literally the narrative was literally everybody had the same narrative. How many teams have won a game with 5 picks? Everybody kept saying it. Like, I don't know how we gonna put this off, bro. Like 5 picks, I've never personally seen it done. So it's like miracles.
Yeah, miracles indeed, Geech. You are not wrong. But when you watch that second half performance after the 5 interceptions, whether it's a coach or a player, who impressed you most from the Detroit Lions and get the job done and come out of there with a W?
AG and BB, Aaron Glenn and BB. BB
Yes,
is the
sir.
best. BB is the best safety. It's not even a debate no more. Like it's crazy. Like he a ball hawk. He on every tackle. He's smart. Like he arguably my favorite Lion right now. Like he is a beast. You know what I'm saying? Like BB is the best safety in the league. It ain't even no debate. Aaron Glenn, the adjustments made, like, but I can't leave out Carlton too. Carlton, of course, the 2 picks was major. The entire defense, man, like shout out to them, man. Like we wouldn't have won if it wasn't for that. Because let me tell you something, that's my first time seeing CJ Stroud play in person, and I hate him so much because of Ohio State. But
Hey,
he is it was this one play, it was in the 4th quarter, and he scrambled out to the left. And when he scrambled out to the left, I don't know who was in front of him. It might have been Anzalone. And Anzalone was square up with him. There's nowhere he could go. And I saw him set his feet and throw a dart to Schultz, still getting hit, absorbing the hit. And it was just like that little play that it's not gonna show up in highlights that just let me know like this kid is the truth. And I'm like, I don't know how we gonna hold them to no points. And that just showed how much our defense is crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
the defense has been playing really well. I mean, it's shot, and I saw they didn't really show it on the broadcast. I know you kind of mentioned it there, but the turnout with fans, like Dan said, it was like 40% Lions fans there. Was that true? It was about that number. Was there a lot of people there?
This is what and it's weird. I don't know if it's magic or what. When I first got there, because I've been to a lot of away games. I went to the Chargers game last year. It was like 70-30 our way. Cardinals game this year, it was Cardinals game this year, it was like 50-50, literally. This game felt like 70-30, maybe even 80-20 their way.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, yo, I'm not used to this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not used to this. It's loud in there. Then that's another thing. You know, I've been to a lot of Lions games. Our decibels, we hitting 115, 114 with ease.
Yeah.
They're like in the 110 range. And I'm like, I'm not used to this either.
Yeah.
They're
Quieter.
loud. It's red everywhere, and they are loud. Once the 4th quarter came around, I don't know if it was because they started leaving or my eyes was deceiving because the red might have been the seats or something. I don't know. And I just thought it was a lot of Texas fans. I saw nothing but a sea of blue. So
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was like, that's kind of crazy. I see a lot of blue I didn't see at first. So I mean, yeah, it was a lot of them there. Like I can honestly say I was like, yo, they out measuring us. First time I've experienced in the away game, but towards the end, sea of blue.
Yeah,
Sea of
Brandon,
blue.
I want to mention too. I mean, it's crazy. Geech just said I was shocked it wasn't more fans in an away stadium initially. Like, think about that for a second. Like, it's crazy the turnout that's been at these away games. What'd you think? I don't know how what the angle of your seat was, or if you could see, but on the broadcast we saw a lot of Zadarius Smith. He's coaching the boys up. He's getting them ready. You know, they're coming to the sideline. He's telling Josh Pascal. He's laughing. He's keeping a good mood. I didn't get to talk to you about it, Geech. Zadarius Smith's a lion, man. What do you think of it all?
Let me tell you, the best part about it is I've seen all his interviews, especially the post game Sunday night.
Yeah,
he is going to be the glue to the line, and he's going to push us. Like, I was enjoying the coaching he was doing on the sideline and the motivating he was doing for the players and just engagement. He wants to be here. He's so excited to be here. It was so funny when he made that tweet saying SMH. I'm like, dang, he didn't want to leave Cleveland. And then he clarified, like, no, it was taking too long. Like, I was been ready to leave. You know what I'm saying? I've been ready to get the deal over with. So it's like, man, he's excited to be here. We're excited to have him here. The best thing about, and I don't want to go into a bunch of rabbit holes, but the best thing about our team and why we're so successful that I tell everybody is because we have a real coaching staff and a real general manager. They're not here. The difference between us and every team in the league is other teams lose players and they start panicking, or they start, okay, thinking like a businessman. We need to get this guy. We need to get that guy. Our coach, if he doesn't feel comfortable with making a move, he's next guy up type coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's a real coach. He's going to
Right.
coach you to victory. He might not be the best play calling coach, but he's the best coach in the league. He's going to coach you. He's going to bring the best out of you. So he's not going to make a move unless he feels the player fits our dynamic. And when we got Zadarius, I already knew. And then once I seen his energy, his personality, him talking, being excited, I already knew what Dan probably already knew, what Brad already knew. He fits this team perfectly. So I can't wait. I'm just excited just off of the energy alone. And of course, he's an amazing defensive edge rusher. So it's just going to all come together perfect, man. And he's going to be here for a little while, right? I don't know his contract situation. I don't know what we inherited as far as his contract, but if he's going to be here for a little while, him and Hutch and...
Oh, it's gonna be nasty.
Yeah, I think there's an opt-in after this year. You can go for another year with him. Him and Hutch. Yeah, it's gonna be tough to stop. Geech, I want to ask you though, because we talked about it. Yeah, I think it was yesterday, and we brought up what we think the final record of the Lions are going to be. Like, where's a loss on this? We went through the rest of the schedule trying to find a loss. Do you think, like, if you had to pick one, or if you don't think they're gonna, like, what are you looking at the rest of the season? Do you think they finish 15-2, 14-3, or just go 16-1 and just run the table here?
I know we got the next two. I know we got the next one. I definitely think Indianapolis is a trap game. But I'm not worried about it. I know we got that. We got Buffalo after that, or Green Bay after that, or Chicago after that. I'm tripping.
Yeah.
Chicago after that.
Chicago,
that's a win. Then I believe it's either Buffalo or Green Bay after that. Anyways, Buffalo, Green Bay, another Minnesota. All of the division games, they messed up because they had their chance. Y'all not beating us at Ford Field.
Yeah.
So we're going to win the Vikings and the Packers. We're going to come back we've won all our revenge games. San Francisco will be no different. I see us losing one more.
Hey, that's what I said. I said 15-2.
Possibly two. The only way I see us losing two more is if we clinch the division and we just bench it in week 18.
Oh, that's a good point too.
If we clinch everything up, first seed, it's like, well, we're gonna bench week 18. But I'm only worried about Buffalo. I'm not saying we're gonna lose Buffalo. I'm just saying that's the only one that's like, you know, AFC teams. I mean, we're not too great. Good AFC teams is what I mean to say.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's different. It's a challenge for both teams because it's like we don't play that conference, they don't play us all the time, and it's two of the best teams in the league. So it's I guess whoever had the best game plan.
Don't count out Hendon Hooker getting that last week. He might win that game.
No,
Hendon might get that last week.
Hey, that ain't a automatic loss. He might get that one too. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Hendon might still pull that one off. You're right. I can't disregard our bench now. We still got a great bench. Like,
yep.
Amazing.
Geech, the last question I asked you, you kind of went on about Aaron Glenn and how the performance that he did and how he really showed up in that second half. When you look at Ben Johnson, you look at the run game, just that overall game with Jared Goff, what do you take away from Ben Johnson? Not for the season. We know that dude's elite. But when you look at the game specifically in Houston, do you think Ben Johnson called a bad game? Was more the offense just not executing? What do you think happened on the offensive side of the ball, specifically in that first half?
I think that 99% of us in the Lions fandom was like, why did you run the ball on 37?
Yeah.
After 2 straight run attempts.
Yeah.
I don't know a single person that didn't text me, call me after the game, and we still was like, what was that? Ben, I love Ben to death. He's the best. I'm not going to take that away from him. He does some stuff that can be questionable sometimes, but I also think that we have to give the players accountability too, because when they're not playing up to their potential, like JG wasn't this past week, Monty, in my opinion, wasn't normal Monty. Jameer wasn't normal Jameer. What they held us like 3 yards per carry that game. So when your main pieces aren't piecing, it's like, what do you do as the offensive coordinator? But if you're really good at what you do, you should have strategies for stuff like that. So I think it's something that he just wasn't really prepared for. Like, man, I have no answer. St. Brown's not getting the targets he deserves. They're putting pressure on our offensive line, who's the best offensive line in the game. That was weird. I'm like, why are we looking like crap on our line today? And it was just like, man, all of my main pieces are falling apart. What do I do? Overall, we won the game. So I can't get too mad at what Ben did. But was I a little bit disappointed? Absolutely. But I mean, he's still the best. I don't take nothing away from him. Coaches have bad days too, just like players.
Yeah, I think people forget that too, man. I appreciate your perspective, Geech. When's that recap coming out?
Tomorrow, 5 p.m. sharp. That's the official time now. If Wednesdays 5, we used to do Tuesdays. Man, this was getting too much, man. Like, I've been doing Tuesdays since last season. I think we just switched to Wednesdays, like 2 recaps ago. And I was like, yeah, man, Wednesday, I'm killing myself with this Tuesday stuff, man. Like,
dude, that's insane, though. That is insane, though. But Tuesday, you got the whole week recapped.
It was killing me.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Wednesday, 5 p.m. every time from now on.
Let's go.
And you're doing stuff with the NFL too, man. I
did see that. I saw that yesterday.
With the NFL, Geech. Hey.
Posted up. Model Geech.
Let's go.
Had a little commercial or whatnot, they called me, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, something slight. We appreciate you, Geech, man. You always bring the good energy, Merrill. That's why I appreciate it. That's why I appreciate you about
always welcome.
Yeah, we root for you no matter what.
Appreciate you, Geech.
We want to get you on, Geech, whenever you get some free time here. Every single week. I want your thoughts on some of these games. Real quick,
hey man,
Lions. Lions, they're favored by double digits against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
13.5, I think.
13.5. It's I think the biggest of the season.
You think they're blowing out the Jags this week? Absolutely. Blowing them out.
Mac Jones?
Titans ass? Or you think it'll be a little closer?
Take the spread.
Yeah. that's
a 2-touchdown game.
No Trevor still. Yeah.
No Christian Kirk.
No Christian Kirk. Brian Thomas Jr. is banged up.
Yep.
Yeah, take the spread, man.
That's the right answer. That's the right answer. Hey, we appreciate you, Geech. Keep crushing, my friend. We'll talk to you very soon, all right?
Thank you, man. I'll see you guys soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate there you go. Chef Geech. The mastermind here behind all the recaps you see going viral.
Legend.
I cannot wait for tomorrow. He's probably going to have some crazy bars for Sunday. I don't know what he's got for that game specifically, but
I keep grinding over here with those Kool-Aid chugs. The one day being a Geech bar or something. Booner's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Hey, that's the path. You got the connection.
Why didn't you just? You should have just said something.
I don't want to interrupt anything. You know what I mean? Shout out Geech.
Booner, that's genius. Like, you don't think you'd be like?
I thought of it just now. I thought of it as he was leaving. I was like, imagine that.
At some point. You just sneak in a Booner's drinking the Kool-Aid bar.
Something there. That'd be That would be crazy. We need to get when he's in Detroit one of these times at a Lions game and we're downtown for a show, have him at the show, and then after the game, Kool-Aid jug, Chef Geech in the background or in the video, dude. That'd be something.
Electric boom.
The Kool-Aid jug with Chef Geech. I thought the one with Ford Field yesterday or Sunday night was a good one. Imagine it. Hey, we're just gonna keep getting better. I have been. All right, I'm not gonna say I don't want to. I have been thinking about the Lions win the Super Bowl. What do I do? Like, what is a Kool-Aid jugs have to keep getting better? What do they like? Playoff wise, need to upgrade. Things have to get better. I'm figuring this out.
Yeah, we'll get it. Don't you worry. You'll figure it out.
Oh no, Miami just tied the ball game up. It sounds like. I could be wrong. I just saw it in the chat.
Yeah, they did hit a triple to tie it up. It's always some.
You know what? And I'm going to say this. This is something too. And I'm in on JB. Why is Cade Cunningham coming in with 3 minutes left of the fourth? Why isn't he playing the whole fourth? This isn't like a normal. This is the in-season tournament. Like you have to win these games. This is an in-season tournament game. Why is your best player on the bench for 9 minutes of the fourth quarter? And it's a single-digit lead.
I think I'm going to bet.
Anyone explain that to me? I'm being dead serious.
I haven't been watching the game, so I don't have. I wish I
I've been on ESPN following the Gamecast because I needed 11 left, and he didn't get put in until 3 minutes left of the fourth. And now, look.
Well, they did have a good lead, and when he came in, they did have a.
It was a single digit. It's 8 points, dude. 8 points in the NBA is like a field goal in the NFL.
But I get that, but it's not like he got subbed in when they were down like 13 after.
No, but like, no matter what, just because you're up 8 doesn't mean you're like, oh, we'll just sit him until the end of the game, until 3 minutes left, and hope we win. Like, no, take the lead to 20. You're in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unbelievable.
I know he played a lot of minutes last night. I don't know. If I was watching the game,
tournament.
Yeah, I get
There's
that.
No excuse.
Now I will say whatever the spread is on a nightly basis, I'm taking the spread. I mean these games have been like decided by like one single basket. It seems
I think they might have almost been favored tonight, or it might have been like 1.5.
I mean, look at their last two. If they lose tonight, hopefully they don't. But Houston lost by 2. Charlotte lost by 1. Like, and that was in the stretch of winning some games here. They've won 3 of the last 5. So it's hopefully they win tonight, but it's been these close games, dude. Just so close.
Yeah, it is good to see that they're in them. But like, man, let your players play. Extend that lead to 20.
Let the dogs out.
Yeah, like what are you doing? I mean, and people are saying that, like I saw someone in the chat, they're up 14. Like, I'll go double check. I'm pretty sure when he got put in, they were only up, or when he was sitting down, they were only up like 8. I don't think it was that crazy.
All right, let's get to our top.
They were up 11. 9 when he got put in. Okay.
Let's get to our top 10 Tuesday. Every week we give out our top 10 teams. This week, week 11. See what the fellas got. I'm curious. Some different narratives colliding here. You know, I'm curious.
Kind of an interesting week.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I want to see specifically where you guys have the Commanders.
I would like to go last, but I do think that everyone should have the same exact list. I think the way everything worked out, it's easy to know what the list is.
All right. Yeah. Oh, well, that's fine. That's fine. We'll see if we have the same list.
If you want to go first, got no problem with it. If you want me to go first, I ain't got no problem with it either.
So I'll go first.
Right.
I'll break my list down. Let me see. I'll put this on. Boom! Here's my list. Boom, boom, boom. This list absolutely no flaws. Someone say no flaws at all.
All right.
Do I sound good?
I mean, yeah dude, you were here.
There it is.
All I keep hearing you say is no thought at all or something. I don't even know.
Number 1, I'm going backwards. Number 1, Detroit Lions, obviously. All right, best team in the league. They showed that coming back, even playing their worst football. Yeah, that's how it is. They don't move. Kansas City, they don't move either. They got another win. They came back not playing their best football. Both teams are actually in a similar position, and they found a way to win. So kudos to both of them. Buffalo Bills remain at 3, get another win. Top 3, I think it should all be consensus. I don't think anyone should have a different top 3, in my opinion. Number 4, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I will say the Steelers are closing in. It's close. When do they play? They play this week?
I can tell you in like 30 seconds.
Okay, I want to see that game. I want to see that game because the Steelers Ravens they're close. I want to give the edge to the Ravens just because I would trust John I mean, Mike Tomlin's a good coach, but I would trust that
Really?
John.
They
I
do
would
play
trust-
this week, Jeff.
I would trust John and Lamar, that tandem with Derrick Henry, than I mean, Russell's been playing well, but I don't know about that. The defense is really the X factor here, but I think Lamar is such a talented player. He can overcome some of that. I would give the edge of the Ravens at this point, but I don't hate you if you want to go Steelers. What I will do and will not argue with, because it's factual, Eagles are ranked above the Commanders. I mean, a 4-year-old could tell you that just watching the games. So an Eagles team, they blew out the Cowboys. It's not like it's the Cowboys. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, what a win. You know, they took care of a terrible team. I mean, that's what they do. But the reason why I think this team is getting better. I think they're figuring out how they want to play football, right? Run first. Their defense is hanging in there. Jalen Hurts isn't throwing a bunch, he doesn't have a bunch of pass attempts. They're keeping it clean. And Kellen Moore, you brought up, Boone, about Ben Johnson in the light at Dallas. Well, Kellen Moore said, I was the OC at Dallas. I know about that light. Hey, Kellen Moore's doing the light research, like you mentioned Ben Johnson is. Hey, Kellen Moore was dialed in. They're number 6, number 7, the Commanders. They're fine. Good team. Who do they face the Eagles this week, Thursday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
This guy.
This is the matchup. This
guy will be dialed in. I know you guys will too. It's during our show, actually. So, yeah, we'll all be dialed in. Number 8, the Houston Texans. I dropped them back. I still have them on this list. I think they're very good still. I do. I'm not going to overreact to the loss. I know they didn't have Nico. They didn't have Will Anderson. Those guys are coming back this week. So, they had an opportunity to beat the Lions. They failed to do that. Shit happens in the NFL. I'm not going to punish them too much. I think the Houston Texans are a very good team, and they're only going to get better. They're a legitimate AFC Super Bowl contender to me, the Texans. Very good. Number 9, the Green Bay Packers. Okay, Green Bay Packers, they hang in there. Jordan Love, they got a bye week. He'll get healthier. I still think they're very good. I don't have the Vikings in here. I'm sorry. Not after that performance. No way, no how. I'm putting them in here. I think cool. I think the Green Bay Packers and Houston Texans and Arizona Cardinals would beat the Vikings right now if they played. Cardinals, I think, would be closer, maybe, but the Cardinals have been playing good football. They're leading their division. I gotta give them the edge. So that's my top 10. Deal with it. Deal with it.
He says, deal with it. I'll show you something to deal with here, Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now.
Yep.
I mean,
are we breaking this down because I have a couple.
Through the list.
I have a couple things.
All right.
I mean, the first thing, and Jeff, I do love you. I get the Texans and the Vikings thing. I mean, this is a situation. I know it was a bad win. Like, not a bad win, but it was an uglier win, 12-7 versus the Jags. I get that. Teams have tough weeks. It's the same thing. And you've been on my side this whole time with the Chiefs. It's like, as long as you come out with the win, like, no matter, even if it's ugly, bad, like, as long as you're winning football games, that's all that matters. So that's where I struggle, to where we had this with the Chiefs, me and you, where we were on the same page for weeks on this. And it's like the Vikings have had the same thing for about a week now, or 2 weeks, but they're still winning. They're 7-2. They've played the Houston Texans. They didn't just squeak by. They beat them 34-7 or 10. Like, they dominated the Houston Texans. That was when the Houston Texans were fully healthy too. Like, that wasn't like the Texans now. They dominated the Houston Texans at their best. I don't even think Jordan Addison was playing at the time. That was week 3. So they proven they're a better team than the Texans when it comes down to it. Maybe they had a down week and it was a tough game versus the Jags. I don't think and I get it. It's what's happening now. But when we're talking about it's week 11. It's through this stretch of football.
Yeah.
They're still 7-2. And Jeff, you could say all you want, but if I'm Klotz, I'm surprised Klotz not jumping on it, because there has to be some consistency and people have to be held accountable. If you're going to use that argument with the Chiefs with me, you should use the same thing with the Vikings, because they're 7-2. All that matters, Klotz, you know this because we went at you hard about this. All that matters is winning football games. I know sometimes
that's actually
but they
Klotz.
Win football games 7-2. Me and you both said that about the Chiefs for weeks when Klotz had them lower. Klotz's point was they look ugly. They have guys hurt. They're winning bad games. That was Klotz's point all along. And that's where it's now with the Vikings, they're 7-2. And
Hey, are you
played
gonna wrap-
Houston.
Let me respond here. Are you? Don't,
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I-
I mean, Klotz, I'm shocked right now, man. Like this was something to take advantage of from you. I'm shocked.
No, don't jump in, Klotz, because Booner's 100% wrong here.
Not at all. I mean, I never said anything
Let me
wrong. I was
He's objectively wrong.
Please. So Chiefs and Vikings are not the same. One team has Mahomes. One team has the best defense in the league. Have you checked the Vikings last 2 weeks? Sam Darnold has 5 interceptions. He played like garbage. I think what this is, the Vikings, to me right now, is a team that peaked very early, and they're struggling now, middle of the season, because Sam Darnold is not a franchise quarterback. He played well at the beginning. He's running out of steam very quickly. That is why I think the Vikings, if it stocks, Vikings are trending. They're trending down a little bit. Chiefs are only ascending. You know, I would trust, and that's why I have the Texans lost. I get that,
7-2.
but record isn't everything, man. You know that.
I mean, the Texans have lost 3 or 4 games, and you didn't even have them in your top 10 last week, and you just automatically just be like, I'm going to throw them in there. And they've lost 3. Like, if we're talking trending down, they are literally one of the teams in the NFL that are trending down with injury. And they didn't win, and they have all these injuries. They lost 3 of their last 4 games, and you decide to take them out of your top 10 and be like, hey, woo, let me throw them in there real quick. Like, they've lost 3 of 4 games. They are trending more down than the Minnesota Vikings right now. That's like a fact. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. That's not true. Like
Nico
he's not back yet, is he?
He's absolutely true.
Is he back yet?
He's practice, dude. He's gonna practice this week.
Man.
He's going to play.
All right, so when he does come back and they look good, you can throw him in your top 10.
No,
a team that, but you
for
you to use an argument, a team that's trending down when they have lost 3 or 4 games and you took them out, they weren't even in your top 10 last week, and you said, hey, I'm just gonna throw a little oop in there. I'm gonna throw them ahead of the Packers who won, the Cardinals who won, the Vikings who won another game. All these teams who are winning football games, this team's lost 3 of their last 4 games. I'm just gonna toss them in there real quick. I don't know what it is about them. I just got a good feeling about Nico.
Klotz, not a good feeling about
He was
Nico.
leading the NFL in receiving before he got hurt.
Yeah,
I know, but we were talking about all these teams are winning. They've lost 3 or 4.
Okay.
Rattle.
No, you won't. I can't talk. You know, I literally cannot talk. That's the problem. You're arguing with yourself. That's the problem. Here's the thing with the Vikings. All right, it's clear if you watch that Jacksonville Jaguars game, they struggled against Jacksonville with no Trevor Lawrence, dude. Like Sam Darnold threw 3 picks, 3, and he had 2 the week prior. Like, say, and if I'm saying if the Texans in Vikings squared off, you'll say, well, they lost to them early in the season. Yes, but I don't hold a loss weeks ago to a team now. Like, just like if the Lions lost to, you know, the Bills in week 2, I would never keep the Bills over the Lions because they lost.
Oh, if it was within the last couple of weeks, you would be like, okay, fair.
Well, yeah, it's early. Like
so a couple of weeks ago when the Texans lost to the Packers, that means nothing, and now they're ahead of them coming off of a loss. And the Packers
you can defend the Vikings all you want. They're frauds to me.
I'm just saying, it's more so to me. I don't even care about the Vikings, honestly. I really don't. It's just more so to me that the Texans should not be in the top 10 right now. Like, for you to have the Texans over the Vikings, over the Packers, over the Cardinals.
That team.
I saw a team that ended up blowing a 3-possession lead. Obviously, it was to the Lions, but you still blew the lead in the second half. Didn't score a point in the second half. You're talking about a top 8 team that couldn't score a point and a half to hold a lead. And you're talking about, you're talking about 30 seconds. 30 seconds. We're talking about, they played the Vikings week 3. They played the Packers 2 weeks ago and lost to the Packers, and they still lost the next game to the Lions. And now they're sitting here, and you're like, even though they lost to the Packers, I'm going to throw them ahead of them. They lost to the Vikings earlier this year. I'm going to throw them ahead of them. They've lost 3 of their last 4. I'm just saying, like, they should not be in the top 10. They're a 6-14. They have talent. I will agree with you. They do have a lot of talent. They have not put it out there and showed it. They have not showed it.
Yeah, I'm with Michael here. I mean, I literally was the point I was bringing up. Like, the game, they didn't have Will Anderson.
They almost blew the doors off. Guess what? They didn't. They didn't score a point in the second half.
But the Lions looked like shit in the first half, so let's bump them to 2. Like,
exactly. The only way they could almost win was the Lions looked tough.
We're not going off halves. We're going
exactly. They lost.
Game.
My
half
point exactly.
They lost
the
Lions.
football game.
Half the game, they got destroyed.
They lost the game. There's no way the Texans should be in the top 10. They literally just lost to the Packers within the last 3 weeks.
Bump them to 9. There's no way they are not in the top 10. If you have the Vikings here, I'm going to blow a gasket. All right, I have
the Vikings in my top 10. I'm not disrespectful to teams that win football
terrible.
games.
That is
just
terrible.
like the point that you agreed with me on with the Chiefs, and we went at Klotz about a couple weeks ago.
Sam Darnold,
same exact thing.
Mahomes, very different.
This is crazy that the Texans are in the top 10. 6-4 football team that's lost 3 of their last 4 games on the biggest downtrend in football. Don't care if guys are injured.
Downtrend in
They've lost 3 or 4 games, man.
Dude, I promise you, Will Anderson and Nico Collins, they're not going to lose a bunch of games. They're going to go off. They're going to string off some wins and be back in the top 10 right now.
All right, then you could put them back in the top 10 after they string them together. I think that's fair. Because in a couple weeks, if they win games, I'll put them in my top 10.
The way they played against the Lions without those guys, with those guys coming back this week, they're a good team. And they played well. They played well in the first half. They didn't play well in the second. Cool. Lions didn't play well in the first. They played well in the second. Okay, cool. I think the Texans should be in the top 10, but it is what it is. You don't think so? You have the Vikings over them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Vikings. I almost put the Chargers in over them.
Okay,
the Chargers. I mean, I put teams who are playing good football, who are playing top 10 football in the top 10. I don't just go off of these random narratives. I look at it and who they play, who's winning, how are they playing,
how they play.
Who they play? They play the Packers. Lost to them. You have.
So what do we do? What do we do when the Lions?
Looks like we don't take everything into account.
What do we do when the Lions lost to the Bucs? Well, they had 7 red zone opportunities. We defended the fuck out of it. So when the Texans,
but we didn't have them. We didn't have maybe I might have had them first or second, but still,
you had them first.
Then I took them down the next week.
Why not that week?
I had narratives.
Exactly.
To have a narrative.
Different narratives.
It's crazy to me. It's just crazy.
Oh, don't change. Don't change. You sleep in that bed.
Because your whole point is they're on an upward trend and the Vikings are on a downward. Dude, they have lost 3 or 4 games when there are teams out there who are winning games 3-4 in a row. Like the Chargers have won 3 straight games, and you're just going to ignore the fact that they've won 3 straight and they have a better record than the Texans because the Texans might get guys back and they might string something together. This is literally, Jeff, the argument that me and you were battling against Klotz with the Chiefs, they might.
I'm saying that. It is not the same argument.
Right. It is literally the exact same
thing. It is not at all.
All right, let's move on. Let's go Klotzi's. Because you're not getting my
throw
point.
my list, Jeff. Throw it up.
Not getting my point at all.
No, it's not. That's not the same argument. But Klotz,
it is the exact same argument, actually.
Boone, close your eyes for a second. Close your eyes, Boone.
Everyone's got an opinion. Most of them are wrong. So here you
go.
Pull
it up, Jeff. Go ahead. Pull it up.
Yeah, he's got the Texans wrong. At least he has the decency to put them behind the Packers.
Oh, now we're nitpicking. Now they're okay in the top 10. If they're not,
they shouldn't be in the top 10. 6-4.
Then stand on that. Stand on that.
They shouldn't be.
Houston Texans. Well, I'll start number 10.
Crazy.
Right now, I really couldn't give you a reason, more than 3, on why the Arizona Cardinals are a top 10 team in football. Besides the fact that they just are. They're just playing good football. When you look at their last 2 weeks, the way that Kyler Murray's playing, the way that Jonathan Gannon's got that defense going. If you would have told me, what week are we in, 11, 12? If you would have told me week 1, the Arizona Cardinals are going to be leading the NFC West, I would have thought you're smoking crack. I thought they were a sneaky team that could win 6-7 games. But what Jonathan Gannon is doing right now, they're not the best team on paper in the NFL. I wouldn't even say they're a top 10 roster on paper. But the way that they're playing right now, that's a top 10 team in football. What they did to the Jets, I thought was extremely impressive. And I thought I wanted to take them to cover. I didn't think they'd win by the way that they did, though. So, number 10, Arizona Cardinals. Number 9, Boone, I'm sorry. I got the Houston Texans. And why I have them over the Minnesota Vikings is simple. John Parker Romo. We remember that name around Detroit. They go into Jacksonville, who has one of the worst defenses in the NFL, if not the worst. Mac Jones, no Christian Kirk, and they don't even score a single touchdown. I think this whole team, Brian Flores is playing great defense, but the noise was coming with Sam Darnold in that offense. Through the first couple of weeks of the season, they were the best team in NFL history in the first quarter. For the last couple of weeks, you haven't seen that, and it resulted in closer games, more Sam Darnold interceptions. I think that, yes, the Houston Texans lost that game. But if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan against the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's as close to a loss as you can feel it could be when you walk out the W. So I understand what you're saying, Boone. But what did we say? When I see a team that maybe on paper they got a good record, I just don't think the Minnesota Vikings are playing good football right now. But I will give you this, because the Green Bay Packers just a couple weeks ago did beat the Houston Texans. I'm putting the Packers in front of the Texans because right now they're a more healthy team going forward. I think that around this time last year, Jordan Love got hot. I think the Packers pick it up a little bit. But just right now, I like where they're at right now between the Cardinals, Texans, and Packers. The one that I did not want to put there, absolutely not, is the Washington Commanders behind the Philadelphia Eagles. But I had no choice this week. I had no choice. The Commanders are going to beat the Eagles on Thursday night, and me and Boone can rejoice and go ahead and wave our victory flag on Jeff because he loves the Eagles out of nowhere for some reason. But hey, Eagles, good week. Went into Dallas, dominated Washington. Hard loss at home, but you know what? They're lost to a top 5 team, so I'm not going to give them too much shit. One that I definitely battled on, fellas, and you guys know I'm not the biggest on the Ravens, and it was really hard for me just because their rosters on paper is the Steelers and the Ravens. When you stack them up, you're like, Ravens with that game. You watch the Baltimore Ravens. You watch that defense. You cannot tell me that the Baltimore Ravens are a more complete football team from offense, special teams, and defense, because even Justin Tucker, guys, one of the best kickers, if not the best kicker in NFL history outside of Adam Vinatieri, he's even struggling a little bit. I think that the Baltimore Ravens, even on offensively, they got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. That's fine. But the culture of the Baltimore Ravens has always been the physical defense, and they simply do not have that this year. I think in the secondary, even guys like Russell Wilson and George Pickens are going to light him up, and Najee Harris is on his way to a 1,000-yard season. They just got Mike Williams. You could stack up that whole defense in Baltimore with Kyle Hamilton out right now against T.J. Watt. I'm taking T.J. Watt over that whole Baltimore defense. So 4 and 5, I got the Steelers at 4. I think the Steelers are going to end up winning that division with the way that they're playing right now. Baltimore at 5, and my top 3 stays the same. I really don't have to expand on that much more. But that's my list, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, we have, 2 teams swapped? I have the Ravens over the Steelers, and I have the Texans over the Packers. But yeah, I actually don't disagree with anything else. The rest of the teams kind of, I think, in my opinion, we're probably going to have similar teams there. Mm-hmm. It's just it's the Texans versus the Vikings today.
That's what we got it this week. The Texans. I just think when I watch the Texans, and that's why I think even like what's the Vikings just head on, because the Vikings were 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, very very recently, and pretty much the same lineup. I know they got Hockenson back. I just think the Houston Texans, pound for pound, were the best matchup so far for the Detroit Lions this year, especially with no Nico and Will Anderson playing the way that they did, and the way that the Vikings, they're winning. But there's going to be these losses, I think, are going to start piling up, especially later in the season. I don't think Sam Darnold's going to be able to keep it going. C.J. Stroud I have much more confidence in. I do like Kevin O'Connell more than DeMeco Ryans, but just that defensive side of the ball with Houston is so much more loaded with talent, and DeMeco's a great coach. So I think right now it's hard to say that the Houston Texans, based off the record over the last month, are the better football team. But I think when you watch these teams, especially just specifically last weekend, it's going to be the Houston Texans going forward. I'm going with the Houston Texans.
I mean, if I was going to do a list based off what I think the league's going to end with, I would have the Houston Texans in my top
right now,
that's
though,
the argument that's being made. I'm not arguing. I'm just going to do my list and then we can move on.
Well, you can't say that. I'm not arguing. Like you literally.
No, I'm not. I mean, that's what we're like. That's how we guys are basing this off of. Like, yeah, they have DeMeco Ryans. They have a great roster. They have players coming back. Like, yeah, if I would to go do my rankings after week 18, I would bet you anything the Texans are going to be in my top 10 closing the season off. But
we're not doing that.
Like, they've lost 3 or 4 games. What are we talking about here? Like, Klotz, you had the Vikings at number 5 a week ago.
Yeah, and then they didn't score a touchdown
against
the
Jacksonville Jaguars. But they won 2 straight. To drop them out over a team that lost 3 or 4 for no reason is the most craziest.
In my opinion, Booner, when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, this is the healthiest they've been all year, especially on the offensive side of the football. And you can't even score a touchdown. Houston Texans are banged up. They got a lot of their starter backs, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They've been missing the last couple of weeks. Guys like Jimmy Ward, you had Will Anderson out. Even guys like Azeez Al-Shire, who we were talking about going into this week, is a huge difference maker. That defense without Azeez Al-Shire is a completely different defense. So when you look at in my opinion, this is my opinion, Booner, when you look at the context of what's been going on with these teams and you watch them under a microscope, after last week, the Houston Texans look like the better football team over the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings, this isn't the first week we've been like, ooh, what is going on? Like, it's been a couple weeks after they played the Lions. The Vikings have their dicks have gotten soft. They're not bricked anymore. They're soft. Sam Darnold's falling back into the same Sam Darnold that he has been. So I get what you're saying, Boone. I don't think
you obviously do not understand what I'm saying.
No, I do.
No, not at all. Like, you guys are acting like the Texans. You're like, the Texans after like the Vikings haven't been playing well the last few weeks. Guys, neither like you guys had the Vikings ranked above the Texans over the first 5 or 6 weeks. They both started playing bad football. They both did. Like the Texans have lost 3 of 4. The Vikings have won 2 straight. You had like it's not even at this point. It's just like logic. Like you guys had them in the top 5 and they still are winning. And the Texans are starting to lose. Like the Texans were winning the whole time. They're starting to lose and they're still winning. And you're like, oh, just all of a sudden, the losing team, let me just flip this about. Like that's where it's like that logic. Like I get what you guys are saying. Like you guys are making very good points about this Texans team. They have players that are going to come back from injury. They have very good roster. They have a great coaching staff. They have a very good quarterback.
But
okay, when they do it, we can make our list and we can throw them like we can do that. But a team like having the argument that the Vikings are starting to play bad and the Texans aren't, but when the Texans have lost 3 of 4, and before that, you guys had the Vikings ahead of them when the Texans were already winning games and now they're dropping games. Makes zero logical sense.
When you could say that the Houston Texans have lost 3 of the last 4, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, because it's true.
One was a 5-point
but
victory.
They've won. They find ways to pull it out.
So you win. That's why you're staying with them. When I'm watching these wins,
straight.
I'm like they're playing the Indianapolis Colts.
2-2 last 4.
Where Jonathan Taylor just did not show up that game, and then Jacksonville Jaguars against Mac Jones. Those are not like I would. If I'm a fan of a team, I would much rather see the Detroit, being a Houston Texans fan, seeing the way that the Houston Texans lost to the Detroit Lions, than being a Minnesota Vikings fan right now by winning by 1 possession over the Colts and the Jaguars, who are the bottom 2 teams in one of the worst divisions of football. Not the Colts, they're bottom 3 team in that division.
All
Tennessee.
Right. Can I just do my list? I don't want to. I just want to get this over with. The logic doesn't. I love you guys.
Yeah, no.
I just want to do my list. I don't even want to argue about the Vikings. The Vikings are on my list because I'm just. Just throw it up there.
He's over it.
Yeah, I am. Like, I love you guys, and it feels like I'm getting gaslit a little bit here.
No,
because I'm not trying to be like.
Don't agree. We just don't see eye to eye on something.
And to be honest, Boone, you can't say gaslit. You've been talking, like you've been giving your points. Like I haven't even gaslit.
All right, go ahead and talk then.
No, you can't say I'm gaslighting you when you're talking. You're literally talking about the point. My thing, you are ranking teams based on wins and losses. I look at it. Yeah, if it's close, I think Texans are 6-4, Vikings are 7-2. Like I would give, you mentioned the 3 of 4 Vikings. Yeah, they won the last 2, but 12 against the Jags. I would give, if in terms of impressive losses or whatever, impressive games, the Vikings lost or they won 12-7. The Texans, I mean, the way they looked against the Lions in the first half, you got to give them credit for that. I mean, they dominated them. And in the second half, they did. Same thing with the Lions. First half, they didn't. Second half, they did. They lost to a very good team, best team in the NFL. So whatever. You break down your list. Go ahead. We won't argue about it. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Cardinals should be at number 10 on everyone's list. The Packers, they just continue to find ways to win games. The Vikings, I've dropped them down a ton since a couple weeks ago because they haven't looked good, but they still find a way to win. At the end of the day, they're still winning football games somehow, some way. Just like the Chiefs. The Chiefs are about to sit here and they're 8-0. And yeah, they have Patrick Mahomes in the defense, but you know what? They find a way to win games, even if it's ugly. And even if there's a week where they play bad, they find a way versus a bad team to win a game. So I have the Vikings at 8, the Commanders 7, Eagles 6. Jeff, the matchups on Thursday. We'll see who kind of gets that spot. Whoever wins it will end up getting if the Commanders will jump the Eagles or the Eagles will stay the same to me. I do think, though, that the Steelers should be over at all of these teams. Like, Steelers are playing very, very good football. And then the Baltimore Ravens, obviously, I think the 1 through 4 is just chalk for everyone. I think it should be just 1, 2, 3, 4. Lions, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens.
Give me those Steelers over those Ravens.
Can I add, and we won't even break up the Texans thing, but can I ask why Vikings over Packers? I feel like I just
dropped them down. I dropped them down. They didn't. The way my list goes, it moves. If you lose, you drop down. If a team wins, I have you jump them. And they were already 8-9, and I kept them 8-9. I didn't move them. They both won. In my eyes, they both won. You stay there. You don't move. You stay put.
Then there's one more thing, Boone. Just interested because I know you're a big Pittsburgh Steelers guy. Why do you got the Ravens over the Steelers?
I just think the Ravens stopped. I just think the Ravens are too good offensively. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. They'll go up against the Chiefs, the Lions, and they'll put up a fight. That's all.
Don't hate it.
All right.
Hey,
Who did you guys? Did you guys have the Steelers at 4? Both of you?
I had the Steelers at 4. Jeff had them at 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just think the Steelers are a more complete football team.
it's interesting.
Well, yeah,
I think they won the AFC North.
I just think Lamar, Lamar, Derrick Henry. I mean, that's a problem already. I think they've just been finding ways to like be better than everyone. You know, so I wouldn't count them out. I would give the edge to them. I think Russ, as well as he's been playing, I would still be like in a game like that. Let's say neutral field. I would pick the Ravens, but it's close. I think the Steelers, they're good. They're a good team. I don't think it's egregious. I won't hate you for that take, Klotzy. You've been consistent with the Ravens. I will say you've been consistent with the Ravens.
Great regular season team. They'll fold like Tomlin ain't though.
I mean, it's fair. All right, get your mailbag questions ready. We'll do some mailbag. Got about 10 minutes left. Pistons just pulled out a win, and overtime?
That felt great for once. I will say this, fellas. Normally every Tuesday I'm going to fucking war, and it was great to just feel like, sit back, relax for a couple minutes during this toxic Tuesday top 10. I was enjoying it. Great little sparring session between you fellas.
It was, we have different philosophies on the power rankings. We weren't.
I thought Jeff and I had the same one for 10 weeks. Some people switch their philosophies.
Okay, you could take jabs. You're wrong. Yeah, you can take jabs, but you're wrong. But we have different philosophies. We have different philosophies, and this is what makes Top 10 Tuesday very interesting.
It's an interesting, yeah. Toxic Tuesday. It's a fun time.
Let's see.
Shout out to Pistons.
Yeah, Pistons. I mean, come on, let's go.
I had Cade Cunningham over 37.5, and he ended with 37. It's a tough one, dude. In overtime, too.
Yeah, that's brutal. He had like 7 turnovers. I mean, he had 7 turnovers in that game.
That should count towards it, to be honest.
Yeah, he did not play his best in terms of turning the ball over. He did not play good. But Pistons won. All I care about. They advance in the in-season tournament. Just saying, don't let them mess around. Don't let them mess around. Let me see. I want to see the in-season tournament. I never actually looked at the.
I don't understand how it works. I would love for someone to break it down to me. Like, I know there's like pools, and you have to like the top team. I think or whoever wins the pool goes to the actual tournament part, and then they play in like a turn. I don't know. But the Pistons want to know. Imagine them. I was thinking this morning. Imagine the Pistons just won the in-season tournament. It's like, hey, they actually could play it. Like when they're in like competitive basketball, they show up. Like who else is in their pool? Maybe they can win it.
So their pool. Let me make sure I get this correct.
Here we go.
Yeah, So the group they were in is the Detroit Pistons, Toronto Raptors, Miami Heat, Indiana Pacers, and Milwaukee Bucks. So.
Indiana Pacers, Miami Heat. Who did you say? Sorry.
Pacers, Bucks, Raptors, Heat. Pacers,
they could
Bucks,
win it.
Raptors, Heat. Yeah.
The Bucks aren't playing great. They could win this thing.
Yeah.
They could win their pool.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I mean, it's a whole.
It's Tuesdays and Fridays. I think is the tournament games through December. I think.
Not a huge fan of the in-season tournament, to be honest. Not yet. No, I don't. I think it's the NBA's way of trying to spark up hype in the regular season, and I'm like I'm a little old fashioned with that stuff. Just I mean, come on, like you got an NBA championship, like you just wait till then. I mean, why do we got to do these in season tournament shit? I don't know. It's like, okay, if the Pistons win, will anyone give a shit? I will, and I know Pistons fans will, but like
He's coming to me.
Yeah, but like a couple weeks later. You think Pistons players are like, hey, boys, we won the in-season tournament. Like, no one cares. You know
yeah, the Lakers. Hey, I thought you wanted to take the victory lap last year. Didn't LeBron win it or an AD?
I don't know who won it.
Ron probably would in season.
That's my point, though.
I think LeBron won the. I think it was LeBron last year.
Who won it last year? I don't even know. That's a good. Actually, that makes the argument.
I think it was. I think it was LeBron. I think your guy won it, Jeff.
Oh, it was. Well, then, yeah, maybe it does matter.
Yeah, that's funny.
With GOAT discussions, maybe we can throw it in. And precision standing says it's money, Jeff, just like the NFL with overseas games. I mean, that is true. Yeah, it's like, I mean,
make some money.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
did
it
he?
is.
Oh
Mhm.
no,
It's a new one.
no, Jeff.
No, yeah,
Did he?
no.
That's a
I like that one.
disaster.
Tyler's cooking with that one.
What was the
Stayed in
Toronto
Cleveland.
thing?
Get out of LA with those Diddy parties. Should have stayed in Cleveland.
What was the Toronto
What?
that you said with me and Uncle learned on the golf course?
Oh, LeBronto.
LeBronto.
I can't believe he didn't know what LeBronto was.
Never heard of that in my life.
I said
dude.
LeBron. I'm like, it's like LeBronto, and he's like, what? I'm like LeBron, like not like LeBronto. It's the city now.
I thought you just LeBron fans just do that for every
No.
New York,
Just because of all the years of him just
Detroit.
putting belt to ass. That's what he did to the Raptors for years.
Yeah,
So
fucking Kyle Lowry. Congrats.
Raise the sales says nobody has heard of that, Jeff. Are we sure?
Yeah, I've never heard of LeBronto, dude.
You didn't know?
We were on the golf
I've
course,
heard
and
of
he's
it,
like,
yeah.
LeBronto tonight, boys.
Klotzy's heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Oh, I don't. This is. I don't know.
Yeah.
You two are just. Oh, having one tonight, getting one off tonight.
Wait, whoa.
Whoa, hey, Boone. Hey, don't throw that.
You guys
back
froze.
out.
I didn't hear anything you guys said there. I'm sorry. You guys froze on me.
Hey, don't be throwing those out.
Jay Hart says, how the fuck?
I did not allegations. I mean, it's facts,
you know
man.
what?
LaFactual.
I think what happened. The Pistons won. The Pistons won because Eric Spoelstra called a timeout, and they didn't have any timeout.
Is that
Yeah,
real?
so people are saying that in the chat.
So we
what
got
happened.
free throws.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he pulled it.
You know,
with the
I
Jalen
love the
Rose.
Pistons won.
Usually it's the other way around. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, and Eric Spoelstra's like the best coach in the NBA. So for him to make that mistake is like, wow.
Was it it was double OT or regular OT?
It was regular OT, I think.
Yeah,
I
They
love
should
Eric
have went
Spoelstra
to-
too.
They should have went to a double OT. But
That's crazy.
hey.
And I would have hit my bet. Oh, Spo, you owe me some money.
yeah, that's
No money.
wow.
He can do it. He can afford to do that.
Yeah, he
No
can.
doubt.
Spo is incredible.
There's like a couple coaches in the NBA that it's all right.
Yeah, it'll happen.
That was Monty Williams last year. It would have been different.
He would have been fired that night. Actually, probably not.
No, he
dude.
wouldn't have.
Tom Gores would have been like, hey,
should
good
have had
job.
another timeout. Referees did something wrong.
Hey, did Kansas beat State today?
Yeah, they did. Oh, of course they did. Yeah, what are we talking about?
I was just curious. I wasn't sure.
I don't- I'm
Kentucky
not
do.
gonna say it. I can't do it.
What? You can't do that.
I've had a statement in the back of my head for a couple years now, and I don't want to.
What? Tom Izzo's overrated?
They're not overrated.
Yeah.
Not overrated, but like
You get
he hasn't won in a while.
He hasn't.
He
No,
has not
I-
won in a while. And I love and I love like expanding it. Like he just has not won in a while. And at some point it's like, and it's not disrespect. Like we get to March every year and it's January, February is though, and then it just boom, he's out. You're like, it's been like
There it goes.
years. Like I don't know. Like let me look up Tom is or Michigan
it's
State.
been a minute. I mean,
tournament.
you're talking about like, yeah. And even when they've had like players, it's
Yeah, they just get bounced
Yeah.
out in like the Elite Eight. Cassius
Yeah.
Winston, Denzel Valentine, Miles Bridges.
Like
I
here,
think-
I'll pull it up right now, dude.
I think it's as simple as he's earned the respect and he's earned to stay as
He's
long.
tenured. He's
Yeah,
tenured. at this
Exactly. Like you can't
Since COVID,
unless he
so
retires.
2019 they go to the Final Four. That was the year that Miles Bridges and then beat Zion Williamson, which was a big win, huge win. I was at a beat ups when it happened. I remember we had some recruits in town. So we were there watching the game. Went to the Final Four. Great game from them versus Duke. Losing the Final Four. I was actually at that Final Four. I went. Lost in the Final Four, and then COVID happens the next year. The year you come back from COVID, they make the tournament. They're in the first four. So it wasn't like they fully made it. They're in the first four and losing the first four to UCLA. Then the next year they get bounced in the second round by Duke. The next year they lose in the Sweet 16. And then last year they lose to the second round to number 1 seed North Carolina. So it's like they just keep getting bounced in the tournament for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And it all started off with them just making it in the first four. I don't even know when the last time they won the Big Ten? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Big
been a minute.
20 regular season 2020, 2019, 2020. The actual tournament 2019. So like since 2020, he has like there's been a 4 or 5 year stretch. So
College basketball, Baltimore Ravens. That's what they
yeah.
are.
So I don't know. It's tough, man.
My.
I'm
This
probably
guy's
just praying
looking-
on the Ravens.
I
down.
know. He's
Like,
looking for some Ravens comps. I
Great
swear.
offensive team, but ugh, that's a
Yeah.
team that's going to get just exposed.
I hate that. I'm sorry. I don't want to disrespect Tom Izzo. I'm a college basketball guy, like heart into heart. So I hate having to say that, even though I don't like Michigan State. But it's like, dude, he's such a legend. Just the last 4 years have been.
I think State fans would even say that, but they would also say he can leave when he wants. You know what I mean? Probably.
Yeah,
You're
it's
not,
just that
getting anyone better than Tom Izzo.
but it's just. I think I was talking to someone about it the other day. It might have been my cousin or something that actually went to State. I think he had mentioned it was just like with the whole new like transfer portal and all that. Like Tom Izzo's always been a guy. Yeah, but he's always been a guy that like develops players and gets guys where like year one they're really not like fully in, and then year 2, year 3, year 4, it's like that's when guys start to blossom, like Draymond, and then now it's like he has guys coming in instantly who aren't in his program for that long, and it's just like instantly come in and be what we're about, and it's like sometimes that just doesn't hit.
That's college sports. Joel Klatt spoke about that. That's why Nick Saban retired. It's hard, you know. Like Nick. Now every team, it's like, you don't have that same camaraderie every year. Like teams that grew together for years. Even in college football, it's the same thing. It's tough to coach 2024 college anything with NIL.
Yeah,
but hey, happy they're getting paid though. But yeah, you're right. That's the reality.
In the Champions Classic too, they play in it every year, and typically you don't really hear much about like who's in it. I woke up this morning and there was a lot of people that were putting out there like on social media like, why is Michigan State still in the Champions Classic? When you start hearing that, you're like, there might be a downward trend, just like the Vikings, Jeff.
Yeah.
Hey, I like how it went full circle, and you can admit it.
Get
them out of your top 10 next week.
Hey, downward trend, just like the Vikings and just like the Texans, both of them. You know,
Texans are going up. Think about
it like this, Boone. Think about it like this. Both teams are like drowning. Both teams are drowning, and then like you see the Texans starting to go under, and then the Vikings and the Texans just rise right out of the water, and they're like, "I'm still here."
Guys, before we end the show, I want you guys to know, like I would love for the Texans to rise out. That's a good team. I would love for them to be good in the playoffs.
They're still they're floating.
That's good for football. There's no that's good for football. We love good football. I want the Texans to do good.
Yeah.
I would love to see it first.
That's fair. All right, we'll get out of here. Appreciate you guys.
And Tom, I apologize, Tom Izzo.
You don't have to apologize. You're staying a fan.
And I do understand to the people out there. I do understand Michigan hasn't been that good with Juwan Howard. It's the same. As long as I'm able to admit it, I think as long as I'm able to admit it, we're allowed to have the conversation on the other side with Michigan State. Juwan Howard is really bad. Now we have Dusty May, who's about to be really good. So watch out. Don't let. Yep.
All right, we'll get out of here. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Chef Geech as well. Continue to support by the merch.
Appreciate Chef Geech, man.
You can wear it.
Fuck yeah, get that collab.
Is live. Officialctsports.com. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. The doc will be joining. All right. So looking forward to talking to the DOC. Until then, we will see you. Peace.